What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of the panel. Today, we will be going through every single team in the NBA and putting them in categories. And the categories go as such: elite, contenders, mid, pretenders, and trash. We'll put every team in their proper tier and decipher who's elite and who's just garbage. Chill.
Trash. Get them dudes out of here.
What's going on, fellas? How's everybody doing today?
Yeah.
I'm chilling, man. I'm chilling.
I'm good.
Y'all think we're gonna get this list right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Ron, it ain't hard to decipher who's garbage and who's good. It's not hard to do that.
But you know it's gonna be a mix-up between somebody's gonna feel a certain way about some teams.
We can tell if this team is trash and this team is I can definitely tell.
There's gonna be a sobering reality for preseason optimism. That's what it's gonna be.
It really is, because you got some people out here that think, yo, this team's gonna be nice. They're not. They're gonna be garbage.
Oh, for sure. Tobias Harris is gonna bring us to the playoffs, and then we get a dose of reality. Still trash. Still trash.
Garbage.
What about vice versa? The teams that we think are gonna be good, or the teams that we think are gonna be trash and they're good.
There's always like 4 of those, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Those are usually the teams in the mid category, anyways.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know. I think you can, like, it's much easier to tell if a team's going to be good in the NBA versus like the NFL. Because if you start out like 0-3, 0-4, that limits your playoff chances a lot. Where an NBA team has like an 82 game sample size to really figure things out, versus like the NFL where they only have like 17.
I believe in the league we call them fool's gold, though. Like, we see teams that, they have real favorable schedules early, and in the process of them having a favorable schedule, they get busy, and then schedule gets tough. Kind of like the Milwaukee Bucks last year, who everybody was so high on them, and I told y'all them dudes was fool's gold. That was a $3 bill. Nobody wanted to hear me. None of y'all wanted to hear me when I told y'all that. None of y'all.
Chill. Yeah, but what about blood pressure's right here? Chill.
I'm sorry, Ron.
Please don't send it off the screen.
I'm sorry, Ron. I'm JD. I'm talking like Ron was jumping down my neck. What are you talking? No, I'm like, Ron, these dudes is fugazi. I'm telling you, do not put this money down on this ring because it's fake, and she's gonna figure out real quick. Watch what happens, and when they fizzle, I guess I was right.
You know what's crazy? I bought her a ring last year. She talking about she lost it. It fell down the kitchen sink. She talking about it's in the garbage disposal.
That's where
me. I went to the same spot and bought her. Hey, but this time I ain't buy the same ring. I bought an even more expensive ring.
Still fugazi though. Still a fugazi.
She took that ring to the pawn shop. She was lying.
That's all it was.
That's crazy.
That's all it was.
You got the ring from the vending machine, right? Be for real.
I wish.
You wish?
Hey, this ring cost a few vending machines.
Definitely got a popcorn machine ring.
All right,
man. Well, anyways, let's go ahead and get into it, fellas. We're not gonna waste too much time. These are the tiers as such. You guys see them right here. We got elite, contenders, mid, pretenders, and trash. Let's go ahead and just run down exactly what these tiers mean. And obviously, it's up to your discretion. But fellas, what I don't want to do, because we tend to do this with these tier lists, is overcomplicate these. So elite is obviously those who really have a legit shot at winning a ring.
Okay.
Or should we say making it to the championship?
Ron, can you read that super chat really quick?
Because you're already confusing, because like that's the definition of a contender.
So contender is have the potential to make it to the championship.
Yes.
Championship.
And then elite is like
let's say this. How about this? Contenders are like the teams that you expect to be in the conference finals. Is that fair? The top 4 teams. Yeah. Elite is like the 2 teams that you expect to be there.
Have the potential to.
Sure.
I see where you're going.
6 teams. There might be 6 teams that are contenders, but there's like going to be like 2 teams that you legit think are going to win the championship, right?
Yeah.
So I would expect 2 or 3 teams max in the elite, 6 teams probably in contenders, and then everything else, I don't know.
So the elite teams, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. With the elite teams, well, we don't have to be on the same page because that's what this is about. No, this is about who thinks differently. But I love this right here. Chill, let's make a bet. When Harden and Kawhi become a top 5 duo and the Clips make the finals, I'll take your spot on the panel for a week. What do you say?
Take that.
Deal.
What does he get? What does he get when you're inevitably wrong?
That's what I was about to. That was my next question, because it can't just be a one-sided. It can't just be a one-sided bet. What do I get if you're wrong and the Clippers don't make the playoffs, like I think is going to happen? Then what happens?
What do I get? Bread.
Yeah,
what do
that
bread?
What do I get out of that?
$100 super chat. Send that through.
Yeah. What do I get in the process of that? So anyway, back to what Penn was talking about. So I guess I think about it a little bit different. When I think about elite, I think about a team that can win the NBA championship.
Yeah.
When I think about contenders, I think about teams that are in contention. Could they win it? I'm not sure. I'm not 100%.
But at least conference finals.
But I think that I think they got a shot to get there. I do think that they have a shot to get there. Can they win it? I think that's different. Mid, I think, is a playoff team. I think that you're in the mid to bottom of the playoff picture.
4 to 6. 4 to 6, 4 to 7, and then pretenders are your play-in teams, and your trash are the teams that don't make the play-in. Like your 10 teams that don't make the play-in. Simple.
Trash is. Well, I would say trash is, and this is the way I seen it. Trash is Cooper flag sweepstakes.
That works.
Okay. But I will say one thing: there are definitely a couple teams that are going to have a trash record that aren't trash teams, because they start out slow and then they decide to tear it apart and then they go tank. Right. And you don't know what those teams are going to be. It could be a really good team that has an injury, gets off to 2-10, and they're just like, forget it. Right. So you're going to be wrong about this. Everyone's going to be wrong about their preseason predictions. I'm just saying, like, sometimes you have a team that's pretty good and then they decide to be bad.
And then sometimes you have teams that start off slow and then they get good, whether they make trades, whether they figure it out. Then they turn out to be. The Lakers are a prime example of that. A couple years ago,
say that.
I mean, when they 2-10 to start, and then they ended up making some trades, and they ended up in the conference finals. They got rolling at the end. But then you got the Milwaukee Bucks, who last season, I mean, they were at the top of the Eastern Conference. Schedule got tougher. And you see what happened.
Dame was still he was going through a divorce. He was moving from city to city. He was trying to fight a custody battle. He had a lot of moving pieces. Him and Adidas were fighting over their signature shoe. You know, it was a lot that was going on.
With all of that being said,
I just threw that last part in.
Plus, he didn't want to be there in the first place.
On top of that, don't leave that part out, Penn. That's very important to mention. But with all of that being said, what was the?
Y'all really bought in that he wanted to be in Miami?
He did not want to be in Milwaukee. No,
you don't think he wanted to be with Giannis?
No, I don't think so.
He picked one team. One team, and even on top of that, I think Dame is like lost a step. You know, I think it's tougher for him to create separation. I think it's tougher for him to get downhill. I think he's leaning on his shooting a lot more than you would think he does maybe 2 years ago. But I still think he could be a top 10 point guard. But
I still think he got the goods. No, I don't. The
right quick,
wait. You think he can be a top 10 point guard?
We're gonna take a quick break.
He is.
We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll talk more about Dame, the Bucks, and we'll dive into this list.
What up, PC Nation? Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals this July with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Make your day delicious. From breakfast to dessert, stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. Keep kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well-balanced. Head to factormeals.com/playerschoice50 and use code playerschoice50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code playerschoice50 at factormeals.com/playerschoice50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
All right, here we go, y'all. The first team that we got today Well, actually, before we even get into that chat, y'all know the drill. We need an order. Me, Pin, John, and Chill. Y'all drop an order. First order, that's who we will use to go through these 30 teams in the NBA. But John, you were mentioning Damian Lillard. That doesn't necessarily come as a surprise to me. He's 34 years old. Kind of expect that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still think he's a top 10 point guard in this league for sure, but I just don't think he'll have the explosiveness or as some of these other top 10 point guards in the league. I definitely think he's taken a step down in that aspect, but the shooting, the scoring, the effort he made in the playoffs, I still think it's there, for him to be a top 10 point guard in this league. But I just definitely think there's going to be like him leaning more on his shooting more than anything, especially due to his age. So
that's a big drop, though, right?
The defensive regression is crazy.
Yeah, he's
like you see some of those plays where like, you could have 4 really good defenders. You got one guy who's just not committed to fighting over a screen. You're always facing that downhill 2-on-1, 2-on-1, 2-on-1. It puts a lot of pressure, especially when the guy's got to play 36 minutes, 37 minutes in a playoff series. So it's tough, but the offense is real. Like, yeah. So
he still got the goods, I think. I think he still has the goods. I think the transition was tough going from Portland to Milwaukee, where he had the ball in his hands the majority of the time, to now having to play off another elite big. I mean, he had a down year and he went 24-7. He had a down season. I mean, that for a lot of guys, that's an all-pro season. That's an elite season. At 33 years old at that time, I mean, he still made the all-star team. I mean, they still were. Like I said, I still think that they was fool's gold off the strength that Damian Lillard has never been committed on the defensive side of the basketball. I ain't asking for Drew Holiday. I ain't asking for Herb Jones. I'm asking for effort. He's never been that on the defensive side of the ball. So that's always been an issue with him. The problem is that they don't have the necessary pieces to protect him for his defensive liabilities. Now, that's going to mean this season in Milwaukee, him being more productive offensively. Can he still be that and be a 24 to 26 a game guy? I think he can be. I think that the problem is that they still haven't found enough pieces around him to protect him. That's the biggest problem.
It's hard to protect someone who's not putting that effort. Like I'm saying, like there's a gap between a guy who's not a good defender. Like Steph Curry is not a good defender. He's competent though. He tries. He fights. He's part of the scheme, right? John D saying you can't see me?
Oh no, he said John Cena.
Nice. All right. So that's what I'm saying. Like if you got a guy who's just at least putting in like just the effort to be part of the team scheme, I can cover for that. But you can't be inconsistent. Like you can't sometimes choose to go over and sometimes choose to go under and sometimes just choose not to get back. Like that's putting a lot of pressure because like defense is all about rotations and trust and commitment. And that commitment's going to break down every time you're not doing your job. So I think the defensive regression last year that I saw was crazy. He's never been a good defender. But last year was like next level of ass. And I don't know.
But the problem, Penn, was he's never been committed on the defensive end. So his offense made up for a lot of his defensive woes. Now he's still in a space where he's on the back end of his prime, but he's still good enough where he can still be productive offensively. Like his offense hasn't completely and utterly fell off where he's just useless. No, we're not there yet. That's why I think that at this stage of his career, he can still be productive enough offensively. The problem Milwaukee has is that they haven't built that around him. And I think we're in a position this season where even though he's older, I think that effort is going to have to change. I think he knows that too. I think he knows that if the effort doesn't change, they have no shot in not winning it, because I don't think they can win it. I don't think they have a shot in competing for the NBA championship if that effort isn't there.
Yeah, and
switching ones and fives, get that shit out of there.
Can you think of an NBA champion that had a defensive liability in their starting lineup on the level of a Damian Lillard or on the level of a Trae Young for that matter? Like, are these, because both these teams have had playoff success. The Hawks have had playoff success. They made it to an Eastern Conference Finals. Damian Lillard had playoff success in Portland. What I'm saying is, have you ever seen a team with a defensive liability on that magnitude? And no, Luka and Jokic are not on that magnitude. Like they're still big, they still rebound, they're still like 25% better. But like
the only guy that I could think of is Irv, but Irv would actually compete on the defensive end. He would actually give me some effort. The Irv in Brooklyn, who wasn't really doing much defensively, is way different than the Irv in 16 when he was playing with James. He would actually compete on the defensive end. In fact, that actually fucked his offense. So
he said a championship team, though, to be fair. Like neither of those teams, like Luka last year, they didn't win a championship. You could have said that was in partially due to his defense. The Nets, they didn't win a championship. Obviously, they broke down, but none of those teams won a championship. Is there a championship team? Tony Parker?
Tony Parker wasn't exactly the effort giver. I mean, they had Tim Duncan and Bowen and guys like Manu Ginobili to protect him. So the effort that you're talking about in terms of giving it, Tony Parker was definitely a liability on defense. Guys hunted him and they went after him. But the fact that he had guys like Bruce Bowen, the fact that he had guys like Manu Ginobili, and he had Tim Duncan and guys like that to protect him, that really helped him. So
I think for me, like on defense, you got to have a role. You got to do something, right? Maybe you're not positionally super strong, but then you're good in the passing lane. Or maybe you're not the most switchable, but you're a good rebounder. Or maybe you're not like an Andre Drummond. I don't think Andre Drummond is a good defensive player, but he gobbles up rebounds. He's doing something to help your defense. That's what I'm talking about. There is a gap between a person who does something, a person who does everything, like your man Jason Tatum. He does everything. Like he's covering 5 positions. He can rebound. He can get in the passing lanes. He can guard. Okay, he's doing everything. There's people who do everything. There's people who do something, and then there's people who do nothing. I'm talking about the people who do nothing, because I don't think Damian Lillard does shit on defense. I don't think Trae Young does shit on defense. I don't think Anthony Simons does shit on defense. There's like a group of guys in the league that are super small and they don't do anything on defense. Fred VanVleet talked about this once. He said, if you're small, you got to guard. I agree.
What was that?
You just got to be pesky though. Like if you're feisty on defense, you'll be all right. If
like
you're
Emmanuel Quickly.
Emmanuel Quickly is a good example. Use your hands, use your quickness. A lot of that too is getting in the weight room. One guy that I seen that had to do that, it was more so offensively, not so much defensively, because this dude is a defensive liability. But Isaiah Thomas, I watched him when he got to UW. He had to get in the weight room. He had to put on. He was required to put on 25 pounds of muscle. Like if you guys go watch either freshman year Isaiah in college or high school Isaiah, dude was Kevin Durant skinny. He had to come and put that weight on, because if not, how are you going to survive as a little person? But that even goes more so to the defensive end. If you light, dude's just gonna throw you around, dude's gonna push you around, and that's just as simple as that.
Especially when you increase the pace, now you get more cross matches in transition, right? Teams are running. Now the chances that you, as Damian Lillard, are gonna get cross matched for like 12 seconds or 10 seconds or 5 seconds on a power forward or a center, that could happen now. So, yeah, that's why you get guys like Jrue Holiday and Derek White winning championships, because those are the guys who can actually buy you some seconds in those situations, right? Because Jrue Holiday, like, if you get Jokic on Jrue Holiday, I'm not saying that's a favorable matchup for Jrue Holiday, but he's going to resist for like 4 or 5 seconds until someone can get into that. But Damian Lillard is a layup line. So, yeah, I started out trying to defend Damian Lillard.
Could you get in a stance and cover somebody? Give me some effort, Dame. My God, sorry,
draw a charge, man. Kyle Lowry for what was it like for so many years in Toronto. He's 6 feet tall, right? But man, that guy was pesky defensively. He's doing everything. He's drawing charges. Okay, he can't block shots. You draw a charge. Read the game. Communicate.
That's the other thing.
Do something. Communicate. Quarterback your defense. Call out a screen. Man, the people who don't put any effort on defense because they're superstars drive me crazy.
Even today, though, Kyle Lowry, how old is Kyle Lowry?
37, 38, 39.
He's 38. Kyle Lowry is still provide damn near quadruple the value that Damian Lillard will provide on defense, because he'll be out there. That's all it is. He got good hands. He's willing to use his hands in the passing lanes. He's willing to even take smart fouls. Like, bro, you aren't just gonna drive by me without feeling something. I'm gonna elbow you. I'm gonna at least reach.
Literally, he doesn't have none of the tools that Dame doesn't. It's just an effort.
Yeah,
it's just the effort. Kyle Lowry doesn't have anything that Dame.
He's got a low center of gravity. That helps. He's got a lot of leg strength. Like he can hold position.
Dame's not weak.
I'd like to. But even if that's true, Ken, I'd like to think
Dame is not weak.
Well,
I'm not saying he's weak. I'm not saying he's weak, but he's not Kyle Lowry strong.
No,
he's not stocky built.
He's not. No, I won't argue.
Like you, Ron, you hoop.
Keep going.
You gone up against a 6 foot immovable object, right? You know those guards, right? Those guys that you think, oh, mouse in the house, and nothing. You can't get 1 inch. You start at the pinch post, you end at the pinch post. You're going nowhere against that guy. That's strength. That's like football. I don't know where that comes from. Is that football strength or rugby strength? I don't know, but they got it. Kyle Lowry has that. I don't think Damian Lillard that strong. Like it's the difference between strength of like you get Shaq strong, you get David Robinson strong. Right. Different type of strength though, right? Yeah. It's not all biceps. It's not all chest press. It's that base.
Lower center of gravity because you're not getting pushed around as much. That's fair, absolutely. But with what to counter your point though, I think Dame's a better athlete than Kyle Lowry. So with him being a better athlete, what he can be able to do, I think he's faster than Kyle Lowry. I think he gets off the floor faster than him. I think his twitch muscles are faster. So with that being said, that effort, he should be able to beat guys to spots better than Kyle Lowry does. So to your point about the lower center of gravity, I'm just not getting pushed around. Sure. Nobody here is arguing that Kyle Lowry is a better defender than Damian Lillard, no doubt about that. But when we're talking about an effort, I'm talking about a guy who the athlete that Damian Lillard is. Damian Lillard was in the dunk contest. Damian Lillard could dunk backwards with 2 hands, so he can get off the ground. He's got real good footwork. With all of that being said, the effort should be there for me to be able to beat a guy to a spot. The effort should be there for me to be able to move a guy away from a spot. The effort should be there for me to close out better, off the strength of me just being a better athlete. Kyle Lowry, on the other hand, that lower center of gravity, I think that what that does, that deters guys. But the same thing can be said for an athlete who you're less likely to shoot if I'm closing out on you quicker. You're less likely to drive if I can beat you to a spot. And that's just effort from Damian Lillard. And I don't get that. I don't get it from him.
Maybe the problem here is that we don't measure athleticism correctly, because there are a lot of guys who are super successful in the NBA that got passed up, don't know how many times in the draft. They were too short, too slow, whatever. This is not high jump. This is not track. It's basketball. Yep. So we don't properly measure hand-eye coordination. We don't properly measure balance, core strength, where your strength lies, right? We're too busy talking about hand size, vertical leap. This is not high jump. I swear to God, there's a player who's dominating the league as the league's best player. I don't think he gets 5 inches off the ground in Nikola Jokic. That's not athleticism, though. So when you say that Damian Lillard is better athlete than Kyle Lowry, I push back and I say, what's he better at? He's better. He's quicker. He's got the quick twitch stuff. Okay. He was always quicker than him.
Sure. He's
a little bit bigger. He's a little bit taller. He's probably a little bit longer, but I think that's debatable. But what does Kyle Lowry have? I think Lowry's a better balanced athlete. I think he's a stronger athlete. I think he's got more core strength. I think he's got better hand-eye coordination, especially defensively. But man, I've seen this guy pick balls that I didn't even think were possible. That's the Drew Holiday stuff. Right. So if we talking about one type of athleticism, yeah, sure. But if we're measuring the full spectrum, I just interviewed a trainer yesterday, and he was talking about the same thing. He's like, man, there's so many players that get passed up in the draft because their vertical leap is 28 inches, but it's like, who cares? Jaime Jaquez is not a super athlete, but he's a very functional athlete, right? Sure. So there's a lot of guys like that, where it's you realize at some point,
Jaime got a little bounce to him though.
He got bounce, but he's also 6'8". You know what I mean? 6'7", 6'8". So right. I'm just saying, it matters that you can go fast, but it matters more to me that you can stop fast.
Right.
Yeah.
And sure. I'm not seeing if you play hoop, you understand if you can stop faster, you can go faster. Sure. Right. But these athletic tests, they're sometimes measuring this stuff, but I don't think they're focusing on it. The casual NBA fan is like, oh, this guy got a 42-inch vert, or this guy sprint this fast, so he's great. But does he know how to stop?
Right.
Does he know how to shift? Does he know how to go left, right? And when he goes left, right, does he know how to stay centered? Does he stay on balance? Because if he doesn't, you know what I mean? Is Kevin Durant a super athlete? Yes, he is a super athlete, right? But he didn't test super athlete. That's my point.
He didn't. And to counter that point, well, Damian Lillard has shown his balance just from having the basketball, being able to handle the basketball, being able to get downhill, being able to stay upright, being able to not get knocked off of his spots. So now I don't have the ball, and all I got to concentrate on getting my feet moving, getting my hands busy. Now, sure, when I'm playing defense, I'm paying more attention mentally because I don't have the ball. I got to pay more attention to beating a guy to the spot. Now, I know that as an IQ player, But as an athlete, okay, I am physically able to do that. Damian Lillard, he's shown that he's physically able to do that just off the strength of him having the ball, how quickly he gets downhill, how quickly he can change direction. I've seen him as an athlete be able to do these things. Well, now, because he doesn't have the ball, I should be able to see him beat a guy to the spot. I should be able to see him close out without overrunning a play more often than not. Am I asking, again, Penn, I'm not asking for Drew Holiday. I'm not asking for Herb Jones. What I am asking for is I'm asking for effort. That's what I'm asking for. I'm not asking for you to be what you just said. You can't be a layup line out here. You can't be Olay where I have a big guy in the lane who's a rim protector and I'm just shifting you towards him. No, in fact, as a defender, what I want to do, because I got that guy behind me, I want to stay in front of you more because I know he's going to clean up my mess. So I want to make sure that I'm in front of you more. I'm paying more attention to you. So when I do make a mistake, because you're working your ass off to get around me, when I do make a mistake, my big fella is going to clean that up because it's going to be hard for you to get around me. So when I talk about Damian Lillard as an athlete, I feel like the stuff that he has that's necessary, it should translate to him defensively, only except it doesn't because the effort isn't there.
Facts. All right, fellas, we're going to go ahead and dive into this list. Here it is right here, up on the screen. Y'all see the tiers we have: elite, contenders, mid, pretenders, and trash. This is the order that we currently have right here. We got Penn, Chill, John, Ron. All right, Penn, you are going to kick it off, and you have the Philadelphia 76ers. What you want to do with that?
I'm going to put them in contenders. I'm going to put them there, right? They're one of the 6 teams that I expect could get there. I'm a very big Tyrese Maxey fan. I am a huge
Penn, why you love him so much, man? Because I like Maxey too, but you talk about him like why do you love this dude so much?
Sure, you don't?
Oh, I love Maxey, but I hear Penn talk about him and his eyes get like this when he talks about Maxey. I'm trying to figure out what he's seeing that I might be missing because I think he's nice, but I hear him talk about Maxey a lot.
I like that he is just a selfless leader. I like people who have that sort of commitment. I like that he gets better every single year. So that's like very untapped potential type. I like his athletic profile. Like, I just don't think he's a player that's going to be easy to stop. And the fact that he can extend that range back, like, I think this guy could be a 30-point per game scorer on a different situation, on a lottery team or whatever. He might be averaging 32 already. So I think he's fantastic. Another defensive, question mark. He's not great defensively, but he has all the tools to be great defensively, right? So I'm waiting for him to dial it up. He does compete. Yeah. He's not Damian. And he has a crazy like he has great reach and wingspan and he's bursty. I like the energy he plays with.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I like the energy and the verve, and like I like the fact that he doesn't get rattled in the playoffs. Like, he's a playoff performer. Like, I like that about him. So he didn't get too high, too low. I've learned to identify that as a good predictor of success watching Tim Duncan my whole life. Just like, a person who, like, when they're down 10, they're up 10, you can't really tell from their face.
Right.
Like, he's not too hot, rah when they're up. He's not too depressed when they're down. That's good energy. I like that. So I like his energy.
That 32 a game that you talked about, does his shot selection concern you? Not shot selection. Let me take that back. Does his shot creation concern you? Because I see him getting downhill, but a lot of the stuff that I see with him is in transition. Because if I'm being honest, he got cornerback written all over him if he played football. He's great at shifting and changing direction. So when he's got the ball and he's coming downhill at 6'3", 6'4", he's lightning fast. The question that I have is when the game slows down and now he's got to create shots, because I can't just rely on Joel Embiid to just run pick and roll with me all night. I can't do that. Even though that does work, there's going to be times when Joel Embiid is off the floor. How am I going to create a shot? On top of that, a guy who has the basketball, because that's the game that we live in today, your job isn't solely to get buckets, because, Penn, you brought up him averaging 30 a game. How else are you involving us? Because what I can't do is I can't just have you shooting all the shots. How else are you involving us?
Well, hold up, right quick, Penn. And it was obviously a small sample size, but we seen it last year in the playoffs against the big, bad New York Knicks, one of the more rough and rugged teams in the NBA. This dude went out there and he averaged 30 points. It was 29.8 to be exact, but we can all agree that that's 30 points.
That's 30.
6.8 assists. We can all agree that that's 7 assists. So he averaged 30 and 7 in the playoffs with 5 rebounds, and he did it on 47% from the field and 40% from 3. So he showed us that he's capable of doing this in a playoff half-court setting against one of the better defenses in the league. Obviously, you know who's guarding him. You got Josh Hart. You got what's his name?
I think OG has some minutes on him.
Yeah, and then what's the other guy who had to break out in the playoffs?
DiVincenzo.
DiVincenzo. Yeah. So I mean, he did it against a reputable defense.
Yeah,
man. And you look at his per 100 numbers, and they are growing like clockwork. He went from 25 to 30 to 34 per 100 on the scoring. His efficiency has not dipped like the way you would expect it to dip like that. And I mean, for his career, he's nearly a 40% 3-point shooter. Last year was a little bit of an off year, but like usually this guy's a 40% 3-point shooter, and he shoots it deep. He shoots it often. Like volume 3-point shooting is important to me. So I don't know. I'm not trying to gas the guy like he's a top 5 player in the NBA. He's not, but I would take him over someone like Ox. Gonna be super mad if I say this, but De'Aaron Fox, I would take him over De'Aaron Fox. So.
All right. Well, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. They've been put in the contenders tier. Next,
I didn't even talk about Paul George getting.
That's what I'm about to say. I was just about to ask.
I think PG is different? I think PG is like the best third option in the NBA right now. 100%. Name one better. Name a third option better than Paul George, right? And then they got a fair amount of depth behind them, right? So that's why I put them there. And basically, if Joel Embiid's healthy, that team should make a conference finals. So that's why they're there.
I think he's good enough for them to win the NBA championship. I think he's that good. That's how good.
For sure.
That's how good I think Joel Embiid is. My issue with him is I think he's made of glass. Sure.
Have you ever seen a player who's more durable after 30 than they've been before 30? It's very rare.
Malone is the only guy that I think about. A guy like Malone. He's one of the few guys that I'm thinking about.
But he was more durable after 30 than he was before 30?
Yeah, Malone. Okay. I think he only missed 5 games from age 30 to 36. That was he turned 30 in let's see, he was 36 in 99. So he turned 30 in what, 92, 90, 93? Yeah, I think he only missed like 5 or 6 games in like 5 years, something crazy like that.
I think when I look at the Sixers, like I said, I agree with you, Chill. I think Joel Embiid, when healthy, is good enough to take this team to the finals. And one thing I like about Tyrese Maxey's game is when we look at some of these top point guards in the league, they're kind of like ball stoppers. You know, they're not that great off ball. They need the ball in their hand. I don't think Tyrese Maxey is like that. I think he could play off Joel Embiid very well. I think he could play off Paul George very well. And I also think he can attack with the ball in his hand, with his shiftiness, with his speed. So I think this team fits together very well. But once again, we're looking at 2 guys in PG and Joel Embiid who just they can't get their health together. I mean, PG is coming off of his most healthy season, but it's like, are we really going to depend on that once again? You know, so I think it all rides on Joel Embiid's shoulders. I definitely think they are good enough to make it to the NBA Finals. I definitely think they can throw some mismatches at teams like the Celtics or at teams like the Knicks, because you get Mitchell Robinson in foul trouble in a 7-game series. Are you going to put Jericho Sims on Joel Embiid? Or are you going to put Precious Achiuwa on him? Are you going to put OG on him? You know, so I definitely think they have the talent to get there, but it's all riding on Joel Embiid once again.
They also got Caleb Martin, right?
Yeah, they did get Caleb. That was a big pickup.
Eric Gordon, Jared McCain. I think Jared McCain's going to be good, and I think
Pat Riley let him walk out the front door. I can't believe he let him do that. Oh my God, he just let him walk out the front door.
So is Pat Riley a terrorist?
No, but that was bad.
But he has terrorist activity or action sometimes.
He might be on the watch list. Let's how about that? Maybe he's not that. Maybe he's definitely on the watch. To let this dude started on the NBA Finals team. You just let him walk out the front door to Philadelphia. It wasn't like he went to Charlotte or to Minnesota or a team on the West Coast. He went to Philly. You just let him walk out the front door. Oh my God, that's a fireable.
Fox saying he's not on his level at all.
That's crazy,
bro.
What you expect him to say?
You could say Fox is better, but don't say he's not on his level at all. That's just disrespectful.
Pin, you know you can't say nothing bad about Fox. Fox don't even care if you call the Kings trash. You just can't say nothing bad about Fox or his precious Sabonis. You know, you can say the Kings are garbage, it's a bad franchise, this, and this. If you say anything bad pertaining to Fox or Sabonis, it's gonna be smoke in the room. I don't know where the fire's gonna be, but it's gonna be smoke coming from somewhere.
And some furniture moving.
But John, you had said something about the Sixers that I liked. It was Tyrese Maxey in specific. You said he's a good off-ball player.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that a lot of, like, if it's kids in the chat, if it's high school players, even college players, I want you guys to understand It's not all about having the ball. As a matter of fact, unless you are a 20-point, 25, 30-point per game night, which, quite frankly, it's rare. What? How many dudes in the league average 20? What, 15? 20 maybe?
A lot. A lot.
I think it's a lot more now.
It's way more.
What? Yeah. So 30.
More.
I think every team has at least one 20-point per game scorer.
Some of them have 2, 3.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you look at the Celtics who have 2, maybe 3 with Kristaps. I don't know his exact stats that I'm looking at. I know the Sixers have
38 guys
2.
in the league right now, Ron. We got 38 guys in the league now averaging 20 a game.
So it's 38 guys in the league that average 20. As amongst everybody that's in the league, that's rare. You more than likely you are not going to be somebody that averages that. But even then, you got to learn how to play off the ball. A guy like Maxey, the reason why he gets so much money, and a majority of his money, is because he's mastered how to play off of Joel Embiid. He's mastered how to play off the ball. And that even goes to another point too. They got 2 guys that are good at playing off ball. Paul George, believe it or not, like, yeah, he'll dribble the hell out the ball. He will ISO and whatnot. But Paul George knows how to play off the ball. Paul George has played with Russell Westbrook. Paul George played in that Indiana offense where he played off of some of those guys. Paul George played with Kawhi Leonard. Paul George played with James Harden. Paul George is a good catch and shoot guy. He knows how to play off the ball. So that's actually a good thing with the Sixers, because obviously Joel Embiid's their number 1 option. But they got Tyrese Maxey, who grew up next to Joel Embiid, or who is growing up next to Joel Embiid. He's played with him the last few seasons. He knows how to be as a number 2 option to play off Joel Embiid. He knows how to move without the ball. He knows how to cut, all of those good things. Paul George as well. He's a good floor spacer. He knows how to play off the ball. So that's actually a good thing that the Sixers have going on. But, I mean, as you mentioned, it's like, can Joel stay healthy? Can Paul George stay healthy? Can they both together stay healthy? So,
Ron, how many players do you think average at least 19 points per game this year? Estimated.
At least 19. Because I do know over the last couple years, it's been a major boost in just a lot of guys scoring averages go up. So I'm going to say 19 after Chill just said 38. I'm probably going to say, I might say 50. About 50 guys average 19.
It's 48. 48. It's 48. And the thing that I'm seeing on this list is most of the guys in the top 100 with a few more minutes and a little bit more opportunity could drop 20. It's like Scotty Barnes had 19.9.
Yeah.
And the only reason for that is because he got injured in the last game. He was averaging 20 going into that game. You got guys like RJ Barrett, Jimmy Butler. Those guys are averaging 20. But Devin Vassell, telling me he can't average 20. Domantas Sabonis, Ox's precious Domantas Sabonis, he can't average 20. Bam Adebayo with a little bit more opportunity. Kobe White, Jalen Williams, all these guys can average 20. Easy. Jordan Poole could average 20. Brandon Miller's going to average 20 this year. So it's like you could have 50 20-point per game scores this year. That's wild. We need to stop talking about
probably will. I might say 55. The way it's trending up.
Yeah.
The way the 3 balls trending, the way the transition game's trending, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 55. And I mean, I try to tell you guys, y'all hated him for saying it. Scoring's not that difficult. If you get enough shots and if you get enough minutes, somebody got to score.
Yeah, it could be empty.
What did Shaq say? I think Shaq said 5 points every quarter. Right? It's that simple.
That's 2 buckets.
All right, we're going to move on to the next team. It's on you, Chill. And Chill, unfortunately, you got the Washington Wizards.
Garbage. They building something, right? They're in the process of building something. I'm on record. This kid Sarr, who I love him as a defender. I know you don't like him, Penn, but I to be honest with you, I think from what I saw in the summer league, how rangy he is, his long arms, I think I could be looking at a rim protector like Rudy Gobert. I think that I think that that's possible to see that from him. He gets pushed around a little bit, and I don't know if y'all noticed, but Dwight Howard got pushed around a lot when he was a rookie. In fact, Dwight Howard told everybody he didn't realize how big and how fast the NBA was. It happens when you're a rookie and you're young. So I think this kid Sarr, I think he's a really good building block for them. I don't know what they're doing with Kuzma. I really don't. I have no idea what they're doing with Kuzma. I think this is a year for Jordan Poole to show that he can get integrated into the unit. He came on the unit last year thinking that, I'm going to be a 25, 26 a game guy. I was on that train and it crashed. I was lucky to get off of it before it fell off the bridge. Luckily I did. But with that being said, I don't think that they're going to be very good, but I feel like they're trying to build something. They got some direction in Washington, but they're going to be garbage.
Bless your heart, Joe. Like you're saying, not going to be very good. They're in the running for like 38 losses in a row. Bad. Okay, they lost. They legit had 2 players last year that I really liked: Denny Avdia and Bilal Coulibaly. It's literally the whole roster that I liked. And Denny's gone. He went to Portland, right? So now I like what they did in the draft with Bub Carrington. I do not agree with this Alex Sarr pick at all. I don't like it.
Hey, I think a lot of people dislike the Wizards, so they don't.
I got nothing against the Wizards. I got my Jordan jersey.
It's not even about that. I'm saying a lot of people just look past the Wizards. So like I haven't
for
even
good
heard
reason, Ron.
This is what I'm saying though. This is a good reason for the Wizards. I haven't even heard Cooper Flag to the Wizards. I've never heard nobody make that connection yet.
Bro, if you're religious right now, can you please send out a prayer for Cooper Flag that he's not end up in the Wizards? Can we do that right now? Can we just send out a nice little hail?
Somebody got to go.
Marys and some.
I
am tired of watching the best young players, and I'm not even that high on Cooper Flag. I'm tired of watching the best young players end up in the most trash organizations. It's okay if you're a bad organization, but like trash organizations that do not develop players, do not properly build around players, do not have the proper infrastructure. I mean, it's a myth that every single team, every professional club understands what they're doing with these young players. And then, of course, when a player goes and underachieves in one of these organizations, we're going to say they're a bust. They're so bad, they're a bust. But like, I mean, what is the infrastructure around them? Not every organization is doing it right. The OKC Thunder are doing it right, right? The San Antonio Spurs are doing it right. The Raptors used to do it right. Hopefully they'll start again. There's some organizations that really get it and some organizations that don't. And I don't want Cooper Flag or AJ DeBonsa to end up in one of those trash organizations. So, you know, that's my piece.
I think if they would have kept Denny Avdia, I would have really liked this defensive young trio that they were pairing with Bilal, Denny, and Alex Sarr. I think Chill hit the nail on the head. I think Alex Sarr can be mobile. I think he could be a great shot blocker. I think he'd be a great pick and roll defender. I really didn't like the trading of Denny Avdia, but Jordan Poole, I think his issue was in Golden State, you could kind of see like, okay, Jordan Poole is kind of off the rails a little bit. Let's pull him out the game. You know, I think with his early days in Washington, he didn't really have that type of mentality, or the Wizards didn't have that mentality. It's like, now you have to go out here and really apply some offense for us, and I don't think it was that big of a role that he had in Golden State. So I think that's something that was tough for him to get over, but I think this year he'll get a better chance of doing that, or I think he'll play better this season. But once again, the Wizards aren't going to be that good this year. I think there's some young players that can come in and do some good things. I think Malcolm Brogdon can be a good mentor for Bub Carrington, but once again, it's going to be another bad season, but they got more young pieces now to build off of. So that's exciting.
Trading Daniel Gafford and then signing Jonas Valanciunas in free agency. Make it make sense. Just make it make sense.
Well, they're going to lose him. They're going to end up losing him by the trade deadline. He's not going to be there by the time.
They're going to get some value.
They just signed him for 3 years, $30 million.
Yeah, they're going to get some value from him for that. That's a favorable contract.
Yeah, they're going to end up trading
they got him on the cheap, and they're going to get something back from him. It might be a pick. It might be another young player. It probably will be a pick and a young player.
Jalen Hood-Schifino.
You think you're getting a pick and a young player for a guy that could have gone literally to any team in the league, because $10 million is under mid-level exception. If a team wanted him that bad, they would have just signed him themselves.
Well, of course. So here's the problem with that logic, Penn. The problem with that logic is yesterday's price isn't today's price. So when we get into the season, and as bad as Washington is, Valanciunas is going to be very valuable to a playoff team. Now, we already know that they're going to be a lottery team, but I'm pretty confident I can get one of these higher level teams like Minnesota. I can get one of these better teams like Sacramento to hand me over one of those ones for Valanciunas at the trade deadline. Give me one of those ones and give me one of those kids for Valanciunas, considering he might be the difference in us getting to the conference championship. He might even be the difference in us getting to the NBA finals, him being a frontline presence that he is. But if I'm asking for like 2 or 3 ones, click, goodbye. We're not talking. No, absolutely not doing that. But how many times, Penn, as much as you've watched the NBA, how many times have you seen a guy who has a month or 2 month stretch will give you 18 to 22 a game? He'll give you 19 a game. And now all of a sudden his stock rises, sell right at that point. I think that's what Washington's plan is with Valanciunas. And if we can get a 1 out of this and a kid, absolutely we'll do it. And he comes on the cheap.
Daryl Morey used to say the best environment in the NBA to operate is when 5 to 7 teams don't know what they're doing. I'm telling you right now, the number of teams that actually don't know what they're doing is probably 2. And one of the teams is the one we're talking about. So it's really hard to convince people to go out and just buy empty calories now, right? We've seen a lot of players put up big numbers and then sign for minimums. Last year with Philly, they got a guy on the very, very cheap on a minimum contract who had just come off a very big scoring season on a losing team. Take consideration Gary Trent Jr. The numbers he's put up in Toronto the last few years, he's been a bucket. He's been a pretty good 3-point shooter. We've heard that 3-point shooting gets paid. Gary's a 3-point shooter. He just signed a minimum in Milwaukee. Teams are not lining up for a defensive liability center north of 30 who maybe has some, I don't want to say durability issues, but definitely some speed and athleticism issues. In the modern NBA, we want bigs who can switch. JV cannot switch, right? He's a rebounder. He's a hustle big. He's the type of guy, right there, honestly, they overpaid for him. You want my honest opinion? People saying 30 million, 3 years, whatever. Given the context of the contracts that were given out this offseason, I think they overpaid, which is why I reject this notion that he's going to be worth a first-round pick. If he is traded for a first-round pick at the deadline, I will apologize to you, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I think a team like the Lakers would love to have Valanciunas, though. I mean, he doesn't have to start next to Anthony Davis, but there could be lineups where he could come in and just be next to Anthony. What are they trading for him?
Whatever you want.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Like when you get if you sign JV on a minimum, now you can maybe get something, because I'm like, oh, that's a great value contract. But you sign him for $10 million. That means someone's got to send you $10 million of value back. Not every team is lined up with the Bradley Beals to send back to you. I'm saying, like, if he's going to be traded, it's going to be like part of a bigger deal. It's not
the Lakers don't have a lot of contracts. That's a very tradable contract. $10 million in today's game. This isn't Valanciunas on the books for 4 years at $80 million. This isn't Valanciunas on the books for 95 to $100 million. This is $10 million. That's a bucket of extra crispy and a six-pack.
That's a favorable contract.
Say Gabe Vincent in a second-round pick.
Yes.
And they'll do that too. For Gabe in a second, they would.
How much better is JV than Andre Drummond? How much better? I know he's better, but how much better?
I think it's
Andre Drummond's been a minimum player for how long?
It's a good get, but here's the thing
difference with Andre Drummond is Andre Drummond, one, he's a defensive liability. That's number one. Number two,
JV's a defensive liability.
But the difference with that is he can score, and the difference, and also with his ability to score, he can rebound and he can make free throws, which means we can put him in the game in the meat and potatoes of the game. We can't get that from Drummond. That's the problem. He can't make free throws and he can't score. That's
Drummond's a better rebounder.
Drummond is a better rebounder.
But Valanciunas ain't no whack rebounder though.
No, he's
JV's a good rebounder.
Drummond is an all-time rebounder. Valanciunas is
one of the better rebounders in the game today. Yeah, one of the better rebounders in the game.
What I'm saying is the difference between them is a $5 million player and a minimum player. It's not leaps and bounds gap, right? It's not Isaiah Hartenstein versus Andre Drummond.
They still live in the same neighborhood. Your house just got 2 more bedrooms than mine. We still live in the same neighborhood, though. I can get with that.
Which chill. That's gonna cost you a little extra to get them 2 bedrooms.
Not much, though.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when you have teams that are on the doorstep and they're right there and they could get tricked. You just told me when you're talking about Daryl Morey, you got 5 to 7 teams that don't know what they're doing. If you got a team that's at the doorstep at the trade deadline of really making some noise and they're a 5-man away, a dirty work guy away, they're willing to put more on the table, especially if that guy is doing more than he normally does. If we're talking about Valanciunas today, that's different than if it's January. If Valanciunas is on a stretch where he's like 16 and 11 on really good efficiency and Washington is winning, wait a minute. Well, if he's doing that with them, imagine what he could do with us, considering what we have. You probably get a first-round pick for that. Now, would that be overpaying? Yes, but that's the point.
All right, fellas, we're going to get rolling on this list. I'm going to start trying to get through these quickly. If you in here, like the video, subscribe, and become a member. Let's go ahead and get rolling, fellas. The next person, John, you have the Atlanta Hawks. Elite contenders, mid pretenders, trash.
I'm going to go with mid. I think the Atlanta Hawks have really not put the best team around Trae Young. Trae Young is not a good off-ball player, so what you guys decided to do was get another ball-dominant guard. I think Clint Capella has been there a year too long. I think Onyeka Okongwu should have started a while ago. I think he's a solid rebounder. I think he could be mobile. I think he'd be more efficient than Clint Capella. I think Zachary Reese-Shea, even though he is the number 1 pick in the draft, there is a lot of valid questions around his game. Can he be really efficient with the ball in his hand? Can he knock down the outside shot efficiently? I think this year is really going to show if Trae Young can really elevate his team to a level where they can get to a play-in. But once again, I think outside of the top 8, the 9 and 10 in the Eastern Conference is wide open. Like, it can be the Hornets, it can be the Hawks, it can be the Raptors, it could be the Bulls, So I think it's a mid-team, man. I think it's a mid-team. I think you could do a lot better with the pieces that you put around Trae Young, and I think it's going to show this season.
I like Dyson Daniels.
I'm so sick of Atlanta.
I do too.
I'm just so sick of them. I'm sick of Atlanta. I apologize. I'm just sick of Atlanta. They're the chick that thinks she flyer than she really is. That's who they are. And I'm sick of what they're doing. Like, what is the plan in Atlanta? Okay, you lose Sadiq Bey because he tore up his knee. Okay, fine. You now move off of AJ Griffin because you had no idea what you were doing with him. So now you got the big guy in Akun, and I got to make sure I get his name right.
Okongwu.
Yes, Onyeka Okongwu. So now you have him. You still holding on to Clint Capella, who hasn't really been who hasn't been as effective as he's been in the past. Is this kid your future? Because if he's your future, why are you holding on to Clint Capella? If you're going to start with him, Johnson, and Trae, let's move forward with this, right? It's that chick that won't change her outfit, but she still thinks she fly. Yo, switch up your gear. You probably could be flop. You switched your gear up a little bit, but you still wearing them big ass pants that we wore 10 years ago. What you doing?
Yo. I think they might get something out of Kobe Buffkin. Maybe.
Dude, she gotta take off them boots with the fur. She
What
gotta
you
take
doing?
off them apple bottom jeans and boots with the fur.
It was fly a couple of years ago. It's time to move on from that, right? And what Penn just said. What's the plan with Kobe Buffkin? What's the plan with him? What are we doing with this kid?
Kobe, it's bad for Kobe. Like, he's gonna be in Atlanta. He's going to be a backup point guard. You're not playing over Trae. You're not playing. They just brought in Dyson Daniels. You're not playing over Dyson Daniels.
I was a little shocked when John said, mid. I was like, what? Like, I was expecting him to say something else. Pretenders, trash. But I get it. Like, you got defenders. You got Jalen Johnson. We haven't even talked about Jalen Johnson. I think he's really good. He's super athletic. He's shown some growth, right? Is this going to be him unleashed, right? You take care of the problem. I love DeJounte Murray, but you had a two ball handler problem, right? And I think Dyson Daniels is a pretty good passer. He's a great defender. DeJounte Murray was a reputational defender. Everyone said DeJounte's a great defender. Yeah. 2018 DeJounte was a great defender. 2019 DeJounte, really good defender. 2024 DeJounte was not playing defense. So we take that out. We basically subtract almost a defensive liability, which is what DeJounte Murray was the last couple of years. And we add possibly a top 20 defender in the NBA in Dyson Daniels. I'm really high on Dyson Daniels. Zachary Reese-Shea, I was high on him. He would have been my number 1 pick. So I have long-term belief. They did not pick Alex Starr. They avoid the L from me. So I like what the Hawks are doing. I hate like the history of like the dysfunction, and I didn't like what they did with AJ Griffin. But to Chill's point, like they didn't know what they were doing with AJ Griffin. I don't know. AJ Griffin knows what he's doing with AJ Griffin right now. He's entertaining retiring from the league right now.
Yeah, he stepped away.
So okay, so I think they move forward positively. I have a lot of faith in their young players. Like their young players, like they might have the best stable of young players that nobody cares about. You know what I mean? Like the upside of all of them is like sub all-star.
Penn, I love that. If they knew what they were doing with them, that's the difference. Like even if you have a young stable of players who are promising, this kid Johnson, Okongwu in the front court. If you knew what you were doing with these guys and we actually had a plan, how am I going to play these guys together? Am I going to have am I going to have high-low action? Am I going to speed the game up? Because I got a dynamic point guard who's an exceptional distributor. How am I going to play these guys? We don't see any of that. What we see is we see a point guard who has a questionable shot selection, who kind of slows them down from time to time because he also turns the basketball over. We got a guy in Jalen Johnson who's an exceptional athlete, but he's not there yet as a half-court player, as a one-on-one player, and also defensively, he's still not there yet. Okongwu, we don't know what we're doing with him offensively. 1 minute he looks like he's playing on the wing, and then the next minute he looks like he's playing on the block. I'm like, okay, what exactly is this guy's go-to? So when you got a bunch of young guys who are favorable, Can we at least get a plan? That's what my biggest issue is with Atlanta, and they don't have a plan.
I think their plan's Vision 6-9.
Yeah, they got a really good coach, though. I dig Quinn Snyder as a coach. I do. I dig him.
All right, y'all. We're going to move on. I have the Cleveland Cavaliers next. And I'm just going to go ahead and put them right here in this contenders category with the 76ers. I think we all know they have a star in Donovan Mitchell. They have a fringe star in Darius Garland. They have one of the better 5-mans in the league, Jared Allen. And then they have one of the best rising stars who I think is going to take a tremendous leap this year in Evan Mobley. And they got some other good, solid pieces over there. But this team, if they stay healthy, which was part of their problem last year in the postseason, this team, I think, is scary, and they can upset any of those top teams in the East if they on their A game.
Well, we all know that the playoffs are about matchups. And if you get a favorable matchup, you can move forward. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cavs was in the East Finals this year. If they could get somebody to take care of the Knicks, if they could get somebody to take care of one, I think they're better than.
How about they be the ones to take care of the Knicks, though? Chill.
And that's the matchup that I'm looking for. And the reason why that's the matchup that I'm looking for is because I saw what happened 2 years ago. You know, with a second-year Mobley, right? With Jared Allen. I mean, the lights were a lot brighter than they expected. Mobley last season, I think he only played, if I'm not mistaken, last season he only played 50. He barely played half the season because he got injured. This the same guy who was coming off the year before playing over 75 games, almost 75 games, and being second in defensive player of the year. I think he's going to win the defensive player of the year this year. Health was the 100%. Biggest problem. I think he's going to win the defensive player of the year this year. Health was the biggest problem for them last year. Donovan Mitchell was banged up. In the process of Donovan Mitchell being banged up, Mobley was banged up. Not only Mobley being banged up, but Jared Allen, he started the season on IR. So if we can get these guys healthy, I think Darius Garland, I think he, contrary to the small guard logic, I think he fits better with Donovan Mitchell off the strength that Donovan Mitchell knows how to get out of his way. I don't think we give Donovan Mitchell enough credit for the playmaker that he is, particularly in transition. If those guys like Max Strus and Wade can convert more in transition or knock down shots, I think that they would be a lot better. And I think that would help his production. But defensively, they're going to be a lot better. Kenny Atkinson teaches defense. He did that in Brooklyn. He's going to do that in Cleveland. I think they're going to be a lot better. I think they're a top 3 seed, maybe even a top 2 seed.
All right, y'all. Multi-Kenny chimed in with a super chat. He said, Jub John D beating Salty Swiper.
John D, have you lost since you lost to me? I don't think you lost once. That was your only loss. I was your Detroit Pistons. You're basically on the Michael Jordan run.
I don't think I lost. I mean, that battle against Gifted went 1-1, and then we both got the same person to debate for. But in the end of the day, it does count as a loss. So that was a loss. But since then, you know what I'm saying? I'm happy for the opportunity, man.
I'm pretty sure you were my only win too. That's the biggest irony of all this. I went on a massive losing streak after you. All right,
man. Shout out John D being a wild card, a dude that we just brought in out the chat, off the streets, stepped into the league and made it to the Final Four in the PCL. Big ups to you, John. Also, the PCL will be coming soon. We'll announce those dates, and we obviously know the matchups. So, We'll go through all of that and figure it. We'll get you guys the details here very soon. But I do want to say one thing, John D. I see you in Vegas soon, brother.
Yes, sir.
See you in Vegas for the Final Four soon.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna be there.
All right,
for sure.
Speaking of the Detroit Pistons, it's ironic because Penn, you have the Detroit Pistons next.
Trash.
Not much to think about.
Nope. Okay. I mean, okay. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? You want me to say this is the year that Cade Cunningham becomes Luka Doncic? You want me to say this is the year that Tobias Harris finally stops disappointing everybody? I do like some of their young players. I'm not gonna lie. I do like some of their young players. I just don't necessarily think that organization has had the greatest amount of stability. And I think when you lose as much as you have, right? I do like that they got rid of James Wiseman. That's good. Marvin Bagley gone too? Is he gone?
I think he's still on the roster.
No, yeah, he's still there. If I'm not mistaken.
Well, one for two ain't bad. All right. So I think you just got to get rid of the stench of losing. You need a culture reset. It's hard not to feel bad for Cade because, he does take a lot of slings and arrows from me, and probably from a lot of people who, don't necessarily see the load that he has to carry with an organization like that. But at some point, he's got to be better. He's got to be better with the ball. He's got to be better making decisions. He's got to be, more efficient. If he's going to take the volume of attempts, then you have an onus to be productive in those attempts, right? And the most important thing, he's got to take a huge step defensively because he has every tool in the world to be a good defender. He's 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan, good coordination, good balance. We've seen him be a decent defender, but last year I'm not impressed with the defense that he was showing. Asar Thompson.
This is who I'm excited about to see.
Me too. But those, I love Asar, but those jump shots hitting the side of the backboard are real, right? The aim is just way off. So I know Asar works super hard. I like Jalen Duren a lot, right? So Jalen Duren, Asar Thompson, that's where my faith lies in this organization for the most part. So I'm excited for their future. I don't think it's going to result in a lot of wins.
All right, moving along, John. Chill. It's on you, and you have the Indiana Pacers.
I think they take a step back this year. I think that they're mid. I do. I think they're mid this year, considering what that division looks like with Milwaukee in that division, with Cleveland in that division, and especially with the Eastern Conference being better, especially with it being top heavy like it is. I think they take a step back. I think they're going to be a good team, but mid. I think they make the playoffs. I will tell you that, Ron. Yes, I do think that they make the playoffs. I think they're around a 6-7 seed. I do think that they make the playoffs, but considering same way that Penn feels about Detroit in terms of their front line, that's how I feel about Miles Turner. I'm out on Miles Turner. I'm over him. I'm over Miles Turner. I think they need to upgrade at the 5 spot. I think he's soft. I don't think he rebounds nearly enough. I don't think that he exploits defenses nearly enough. I think Tyrese Halliburton. We talk about Damian Lillard defensively. Tyrese Halliburton he lives in that same neighborhood. He don't live in the same house, but he lives in that same neighborhood as Damian Lillard. He's definitely a minus on defense. He doesn't give me nearly as much in terms of effort. He makes a lot. He makes up for it on offense as an overall offensive player, but defensively, he's killing us. But the difference with Indiana is they actually have the guys to protect him in both Mathurin and Nesmith. They have the guys on the wing to protect a guy like Halliburton. But you also have another hole in Obi Toppin, who looks like, you ever see when they play those drinking games when they have the bat on their head and they start spinning around? That's what Obi Toppin looked like on defense. He looks clueless. Like he has no idea what he's doing. All you got to do is get him in some pick and pop action, and you can completely throw him off his pivot. So that Eastern Conference, I think it's going to be a lot tougher, top heavy, and I think that Indiana, I think they're going to be on the back end of the playoff picture.
I think.
Yeah, but what about feeding on the bottom teams though?
That's the div. I think that the Central Division is one of the toughest divisions in the league. So with Cleveland, with Milwaukee, with Indiana, who else is in that division?
It's not tougher than the Atlantic Division. It's not tougher than the Atlantic Division.
Well, I don't think it's the toughest. I think it's one of the toughest divisions. And
it's okay. Is it tougher than any of the Western Conference divisions? No, I don't think so. All the Western Conference divisions are tougher than that division. Is it tougher than the Atlantic Division?
Stop right there. So if you think about the Pacific Division, the Clippers, the Warriors, the Kings, the Lakers, and the Suns, I don't think it's as good as that division. Even
the
though
Suns are valid this year. They addressed a lot of their depth issues. The Clippers,
no, they did. They got a point guard. That's what they did.
They got 2 point guards.
Are they going to change their offense? Getting a point guard isn't the problem. Are they going to change their offense?
I think not having a point guard was literally their biggest issue last year. They got 2 now. They got 2 that were better than any one they had last year. The question
is, are they going to change their offense? That's the $1 million question. That's and we're talking about Indiana. Guard. We're talking about an Indiana Pacers team. We're talking about an Indiana Pacers team who had the best offense in the league last year. Problem is they had the worst defense in the league last year too. They couldn't stop anybody. They were at the bottom of the league defensively. So in the Central Division, so you got the Bucks, you got the Bulls, you got the Cavs. Who am I leaving out? Bucks, Bulls, Cavs, Pistons. I'm leaving somebody out.
Oh, you said Bulls.
Bucks, Bulls, Cavs, Pistons. I'm leaving somebody out in the Atlantic.
Yeah, I'm missing it too.
And the Pacers, right? So three of the three. I'm sorry,
not missing anybody.
Right. So three of those 5 teams are legit. Well, I could say the same thing about the other divisions, like the Pacific Division. Are all of those teams in that division legit?
Wait. Who are the 3 teams that are legit there?
I think Milwaukee's a playoff team. I think Indiana's a playoff team, and I think Cleveland's a playoff team.
Okay, Indiana not facing themselves. It matters like who. Okay, fine. Okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But okay, but there are teams in the West where are you telling me if the LA Clippers were in the East, you wouldn't be picking them to make the playoffs with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard?
No. I'm so over the Clippers.
Yeah, I'm with
him.
I'm with him, Pen.
I'm over the Clippers. I'm good.
Yo, you can be over it, but are you trying to tell me that
I'm over the Clippers? Mm-hmm.
I think you would be counting that as a good team in the East. I'm trying to say I don't think they're one of the toughest divisions in basketball. So you could say Pacific, but they're not stronger than the Atlantic, and they're definitely not stronger than the other 2. Right. So at best, they're the 4th best division. At worst, they're the 5th. Right. So
I think with the Pacers, I think a guy like Jarace Walker could really make a name for himself on this Pacers team because I think they're really missing some versatile defense. And I think if Jarace Walker can really come in and lock in on that part of his game, I think he'll get a lot of minutes because they're going to need somebody to guard the Tatums, the Julius Randles. I think they're going to need somebody or at least someone else on top of guys like Nembhard and Nesmith that can really defend. And, they just re-signed Obi Toppin, which doesn't really guarantee him minutes in this rotation. So if you really want to find your way onto this team, you go out there and defend, and they're going to put you out there. They're going to put you out there. If you can be a guy that can guard multiple positions, I think he can find himself in the rotation and be really effective.
The upside is they made a midseason trade for Pascal Siakam. Now Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton will have an entire offseason. Plus they had last season. Plus they had the playoffs to get used to each other. That's 2 ball-heavy, ball-dominant players who need to learn to play with each other. It's not like implementing a role player. You're implementing a real all-NBA guy, number 1. Number 2, they did everything in the playoffs. They got to the Eastern Conference Finals without Ben Mathurin. And Ben's a huge part of what they do. So that's upside for me. The third thing is I really think Jarace Walker is legit. I really do. I think this guy's they took him top 8 for a reason. I think he has future all-star type upside. He's really
that good.
I watched him play in the G League, and I know that's not nothing, but it's not nothing. For 19-year-old with his physical profile, okay, maybe all-star is ambitious, but I think it's in the cards. And it should be in the cards. He was a top 8 pick. Every top 8 pick should be in the running for all-star before they're 22. So I think and he has this positional defensive versatility. He models his game after Jason Tatum. That will endear you, Cho. He loves Jason Tatum. He says he models the game after him. So I think he could be a bigger part of the rotation, and hopefully he usurps and passes up Obi Toppin, and that will immediately make your defense better. And I like the fact that they have tradable chips. They have some young players that they could potentially put into a deal for an upgrade at the deadline when inevitably some team wants to sell for 20 cents on the dollar, right? So I think the Pacers can be good.
Go get him. Get Dorian Finney-Smith.
Pen, after looking at these divisions, the lowest I'm willing to go on this division is number 3. The Central Division is the 3rd best division in the NBA. And look, I'm not going to debate you about the Atlantic Division because just look at the top 3 teams. You got the Celtics, the Knicks, and the Sixers. I'll give you that. Okay, I'm not going to debate that. But they got dumpster fire at the bottom. They got the Nets and they got the Raptors.
The Raptors are not dumpster fire.
They're going to be better this year. They'll be better.
Who's better, the Raptors or the Bulls?
Hold up. The Raptors. Are you kidding me right now, Ron?
All right.
Josh Giddey or Scotty Barnes? RJ Barrett or Kobe White? Come on, man.
Kobe White.
Manuel quickly. You got a serviceable starting center. You want to take
Lonzo Ball and Levine are back. The gang is back. Hey, John. Chi-Town is back.
I'm excited.
I forgot you in LA.
I'm not even in LA. I'm in Chicago, but I'm an LA fan. You know,
you in LA.
I'm gonna be at some games. I'm gonna be at some games, but
but Pen, in this argument, I'm not even bringing up the Raptors or the Bulls or the Pistons or the Nets. I'm talking about the legit contenders. Not unless you legit. We'll get to the Raptors, not unless you legitimately believe that they are in that realm, then that changes things a little bit. But like I said,
I don't think they're an easy win. That's what I'm saying. Like, they got competent players in the top 8 rotations. Like, they got Bruce Brown coming off the bench. Now, Bruce Brown apparently sucks with the Raptors. He's a nothing.
Kelly, what is that about, Ben? By the way, what happened to Bruce Brown with the Raptors? He kind of just fell off a cliff up there.
You're not playing with Jokic. He wasn't great with Indiana either. It's not a contract year. You're not playing with Jokic. He's a year older. I mean, he's not old. My point is the Raptors top 8 rotation. Like, we talk about the Raptors later. Let's move on.
Yeah, but like I said, though, I'm not debating the Atlantic division. I'll give you the Atlantic over the Central. The other division, which I want to fight this one, but the Northwest division with OKC, Denver, and the Wolves, I'll give you that because those top 3 teams they've shown a lot of promise in the playoffs and in the regular season these last couple of years. Outside of that,
the Central division is better than the Southwest division with Memphis and New Orleans. They better than them, and Houston and they're better than that division.
Although I do like Dallas, I'm a little higher on the Pelicans than most people, and I do think the Grizzlies will have a bounce back year. Still, give me the Central division over that division. The Pacific division, Penn, you brought them up. The Clippers, I believe, are going to be trash. The Suns. We just don't know what to expect with the Suns. I do think that they'll be better, but we don't know what to expect. The Lakers, the Kings, the Warriors, we don't got to get into that. We know their situation. And in the Southeast division with Miami, the Magic, and we just talked about the Hawks, the Hornets, and the Wizards, they're the worst division in the NBA. So I'm saying I would take the Central division as the 3rd best division in the NBA.
Hold on, Ron. You're not doing this. Southwest division, Spurs, Rockets, Pelicans, Mavericks, Grizzlies.
Spurs
Are you
and the Rockets,
kidding me right now?
The Spurs and the Rockets, we will not speak on them because
why? The Rockets are good. What are you doing?
Can they show us that they're good?
They're playing in a crazy conference. You're only as good as the players you play against. Are you trying to?
We're talking about I'm sober. You just came out the frat house. You're doing Lord knows whatever, and now you're talking about walking in a straight line.
You are not going to tell me the Houston Rockets were in the Eastern Conference. The Houston Rockets will be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and you're talking about them like they're trash?
How?
That is, there are no easy wins in that conference. Dude.
Against each other. It's no easy wins against each other.
They're not just playing against each other. They're playing against the whole league.
So pick up the Rockets, and let's drop them in the Northwest division. What do they do?
Average? No, we're not doing this. You don't get to cherry pick the top 3. There are no bad teams in that conference. In that division, there are none.
The Spurs are bad.
The Spurs are not bad.
What pick did they just have in the draft?
Yes, they are.
The Spurs are
They're not bad anymore.
What pick did the Houston
Yes, they
Rockets
are.
just have?
They're still going to be bad.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
Going to be that bad with Chris Paul, Victor Wembanyama. I tell you right now, they're going to push.
Chris Paul's going to be 40 in February. Let's kill the Chris Paul logic. Let's stop acting like Chris Paul is going to be a major contributor.
Sohan at point guard.
Right, and Chris Paul's going to help that.
Chris Paul at 55 is better point guard than Jeremy Sohan. Okay,
Pin.
Chris Paul at age 65. Chris Paul will be post-retirement. He will still be a better point guard than Jeremy Sohan.
Who is rocker? Who is wheelchair?
Hold up. If the Spurs went on a seven-game series against the Pistons, they would sweep them. If they went on a 7-game series against the Wizards, they would sweep them. Please identify pure garbage teams and teams that are garbage because they play in the West, okay? Teams like Houston and San Antonio may not make the playoffs. There's a team like Sacramento that didn't make the playoffs last year. I got a cheat sheet for you. Sacramento would make the playoff in the East. It matters who you play. It matters who you're up against. There are teams. I mean, do we remember there was an Eastern Conference 15, 20 years ago where there were teams with like 36, 37 wins making the playoffs? It matters who you're facing. It matters how top heavy your conference is. The Celtics are definitively better than every team in the East. So they're going to rack up like 65, 66 wins. The New York Knicks are definitively better than most teams. So they're going to get, it's a very top heavy conference. What I'm trying to tell you, there's no planet in which you're telling me the average team in the Central Division is better than the average team in the Southeast Division. Are we kidding here? The Memphis Grizzlies with Ja Morant,
top 3 teams.
So the Memphis Grizzlies, who I think is going to be a top 3 seed this year. I won't argue that. I think they're going to, because they got their whole crew back. I won't argue that part. And the Houston Rockets, who I think is going to be a top 5 seed this year. Flip that around.
And what about Dallas?
I don't think Dallas is as good as everybody thinks they are. I don't.
Kyrie and Luka, you got 2 of the top 15 players. You arguably got the second best player in the league. You got the best scorer in the league. Be honest, Chill. If
I'm being honest,
if Dallas was in the East, you'd be picking them for a conference finals. Facts?
No.
I don't like their matchup.
They just made the conference finals in the West. They just made the NBA finals. They did not get worse. They got better. They added Klay Thompson. That makes them better.
Dallas is the sixth best team in the East.
Much better. I don't.
They're not better than the Knicks. They're not better than the Celtics. They're not better than the Sixers.
I don't think they're better than
Cleveland. They're not better than the Bucks.
I don't think
John D's expression says it all.
I'll give you Milwaukee. I think they're better than Milwaukee. I'll give you Milwaukee.
I don't know about Cleveland.
I don't think they're better than Cleveland. I don't. I do not think
maybe defensively, but we
and that's the difference right there, JD. That's
the
difference right there.
Are they better than the Magic?
Yes. What?
Yes. They're better than the Magic. The Magic cannot score in the playoffs. They cannot score.
Dallas is better than Orlando. I'll give you that one. I won't
Dallas
barely above when it comes to shooting in the playoffs.
Dallas is definitely better than Orlando. I'll give you that.
I'm saying I don't know.
You are sleeping. You are sleeping on the Houston Rockets, man.
Trying to describe me about how the Rockets
Alperen Şengün, Fred VanVleet. They just added Reed Shepherd. He's a really good player. He might be the best rookie in this class. You want my honest opinion?
I don't think
he's basically a third stringer right now.
That's what I'm saying.
He's really good though. Amen Thompson's really good. Jabari Smith's really good. He's a good young player. Alperen Şengün's really good. Jalen Green might take a step up. I'm not as high on him as some people, but he's pretty good. Fred VanVleet's like still a very serviceable point guard. We got a lot of talent on this team here, and they could consolidate it at some point too. I'm just saying that's not an easy win. That's like a borderline 40-win team. 40, 50, that's their range.
Can these kids grow up?
I'm telling you that is one of the worst teams in the division that you're talking about. Like there are no easy wins. You realize you're comparing them to a division in which there was a team that lost, I think, 30 in a row. Everyone was
28 games in a row.
The Spurs were trash last year too.
But they didn't lose 28 games in a row. They were trashed by design. Hold up. They were trashed by design. They were tanking. They weren't trying to be good.
And the Detroit Pistons, the difference with the Detroit Pistons is that they were actually going to be good. It was internally why they were trash. They got the talent to be good. They have actually the talent to be good. They had the wrong coach, which is why I think they're going to be better this season. Because of the fact that JB Bickerstaff is going to teach defense. When he was in Cleveland, they had a top 3 defense every year that he was there. With that being said, now he's got Jalen Duren. Now he's got Jalen Duren as one of the better 5 big men in the game in terms of a defender. I think that not a top 5 big man in terms of defense. I think he's one of the better big man 5. I think he's one of the best 5-man defenders in the game. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's one of the 5 best defenders in the game. No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is the fact that JB Bickerstaff teaches defense, he's going to make Jalen Duren better as a defender. I think that team defensively is going to be better. They're not going to be sabotaged like they were last year. And both with Cade Cunningham and Ivy in the backcourt, which was supposed to be that last year, it's going to be more of that this season. I think they're going to be a lot better this season. What I will tell you is I don't think that they're a playoff team, but I don't think they're 28 straight losses. No.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Pistons were better than the Spurs this year.
I think trying to I think the Spurs and Pistons can make a progression this season, but I think there's been a lot of converse about the Pistons making the play-in or the Spurs making the play-in. I think that's a little far-fetched, especially for the Spurs since they're in the Western Conference. But I think the Pistons, they just came off a terrible season. I think it's a little unfair to be pushing play-in conversation with a new head coach. You try to bring in some floor spacing, which I think is good, but I don't think that's something you should lean on because Tobias Harris could be inconsistent. Tim Hardaway can be inconsistent. And you just drafted a rookie who can't shoot once again. And I know they got some jump shot coach who's supposed to be the best in the league. And if you can get one of these guys to league average from 3 in Asar Thompson or Ron Holland, then we can be in conversations. But right now, play-in may be a little too far. I just want to see them progress a little bit from 14 wins to maybe like 26, 27. Like
I think Wemby's jump is real. I think y'all sleeping on the Spurs way too much. I'm not trying to tell you they're gonna make the playoffs, but I'm also not telling you I'd be super surprised if they made the play-in. They would make the play-in in the West. Wemby is legit top 15 player in the league right now. He was a top 15 player for the second half of last season. And you need to look at who this guy was.
Asking him to make the pin last season, the play-in tournament took 47 games to make the play-in tournament. That's 25 more games that they're going to win this year. They're not improving by 25 games this year. That's not happening. By 25 games?
Also,
there are a lot of teams that got worse.
Wemby got to learn how to not just win. He also has to learn how to carry. Can Wemby carry? Wemby could be a top 5 player in the league.
Bro, they added Stephon Castle and Chris Paul, and they lost nothing. They just added them. Now they're going to have Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell. Hold on. Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell. They got some depth, and they got, in my opinion, a top 15 player, and I could go higher on him because Wemby's defensive impact. When Chill said Evan Mobley going to win Defensive Player of the Year, yeah, if Wemby gets injured, nobody's beating that guy for Defensive Player of the Year for the next 10 years, unless the voters lose their mind. Wembanyama is legit. I think the sooner people realize that, like what happened last season, at the end of last season, was not a joke. Him getting his team to the gold medal game was not a joke. Like, this kid's legit. Like, he's legit good, and he's legit committed. The same thing I like about Tyrese Maxey, same thing I like about Wemby. We haven't seen year 2 Wemby yet. Wait on it, though, because there are a lot of young players on that team that I really believe in, too. Wemby and Stephon Castle, like, a really good 1-2 punch. They both play defense, which I really like. They're both good defenders. And if Stephon Castle is anything, it's not like the Spurs don't have some draft picks. If they're even teetering at 10 and 12, 12 and 12, and Wemby starts saying, like, I want to go for it, they have some picks. They have some young players they could actually put into the table to add some value. And Jeremy Sohan is not trash. He was trash as a point guard, but he's not trash as a power forward. I'm not saying he's great, but he's not Obi Toppin. I'd take him over Obi Toppin. So I don't know. I think they're a decent team. I think you're sleeping on that division pretty hard, and I'll be curious to see after this video goes live with the chat what the comments say, because I think that division is super slept on. There are no weak links, and if the weak link that you're pointing to is San Antonio with 10 block triple-double Victor Wembanyama waiting for you, if that's your weak link, that's your easy win, you already lost this debate, because that is not an easy win.
They legitimately just had the Rockets had the 2nd overall pick in the draft, and the Spurs had Cuatro.
It wasn't their pick. It was the Nets pick.
Where should they?
That's a win for them.
So they had the 7th pick.
7th?
Yeah, the Spurs.
The Blazers had. Oh, the Spurs had
the 4th pick. You said the Rockets. The Rockets, you said, had the 2nd pick. The Rockets had the 3rd pick. It wasn't their pick. It was the Nets pick that they got in the trade.
Okay, so they were both still supposed to be top five picks. The Rockets and the Spurs.
No, the Spurs were a top 5 pick.
Spurs were number 4. So where
that
were
was legitimately their pick. The
Rockets were supposed to have like the 12th pick because the Thunder
12th?
had their pick.
12. They were right on the edge.
Where were their lottery odds though? I don't care about where they what record did they finish with last year?
I think the Spurs finished around where they were supposed to be with the 4th pick.
So the Rockets were 41-41.
Yeah, they were right. They were right around. They were the 11th seed in the Western Conference.
They fell off late. They were in the running the whole goddamn time. One of the teams you're talking about was literally in the play-in the whole damn time, and then they fell off, didn't they?
I know we didn't get to the Spurs yet, but if I know we're talking about the Southwest Division. What's realistic when we're talking about the Spurs this year in terms of a win total? What's realistic?
33, 31 to 33.
Okay, but that's the point. If you're talking 31 to 36 wins, if you go the low end with John or what high end, I'm saying 36. That's not a trash team. It's not an easy win. Sure. If that's the worst team in your division, that's a damn hard division. There's no 12-win team in your division. You understand what I'm saying? The 12-win teams are like the Wizards, the Pistons, any division with 1 or 2 of those teams, that's an easy division. I don't care how good the Celtics are. If the Celtics are in that division and the Pistons are in that division, that's an easier division because you take 1 L and it balances out. You get 1 W. So being in that division, it's balancing out. There's no balance here. The average team in the Central Division is better than the average team in most divisions. I'd argue it is definitely a top 3 division.
Even though Houston was under 500 against the Eastern Conference last year. But all right, I'm sorry.
All right, y'all. The next team that we have is John with the Milwaukee Bucks.
I think the Bucks are contenders. I still think Giannis is the best player in the East. I still think he's a great defensive player. I think him and Damian Lillard could really work out together. They didn't look how I thought they would look next to each other. I think there's a offense that they could run that could really be hard to beat. And then you bring in guys like DeLon Wright, who I think is a great defender, and he can have some minutes next to Dame to kind of like really put him in the corner or hide him as best as they can. I think Brook Lopez is still a solid shot blocker. I don't think he's as good as he once was defensively, but when we look at the mismatch they can have against a team like Boston or a team like New York, I just think they can have a real shot at getting to the Eastern Conference Finals or maybe even getting to the finals. Who knows? But I still think they're a contender.
Just off the strength of having Giannis, you have to put them in that category because, I mean, Giannis is arguably the best player in the league. I won't argue that part. Just when you have arguably the best player in the league on your team, it's pretty clear cut that you could be in the middle of it. But like, what are they doing with Marshawn? What are they doing with AJ Green? What's the plan with these guys moving forward? And then you add Taurean Prince to the roster. Not only do you add Taurean Prince to the roster, you add DeLon Wright to the roster. Now, are these guys going to be the guys to protect Damian Lillard on the perimeter? Not as much as what they do in Indiana with Mathurin and Neesmith and Nembhard. No, I don't think that those guys. No, not as much as what those guys are doing. But back to the original point, they got Giannis. And Giannis makes up for a lot of stuff that these other guys don't do. Giannis isn't the perimeter defender that a lot of people would like him to be, but he's damn good at the rim. He's a damn good glass cleaner. And I do think that he's a real good recovery defender. And with all of that being said, Damian Lillard, offensively, I think he could take that step up this season. When I say take a step up, I don't mean get better. I think that he could be more effective this season playing off of Giannis since he had him for a year now. So now I know his tendencies. I know what he likes to do. So I still think that they're a top 5 seed in the East. But the fact that they got Giannis, that I have to put them in the contender conversation.
Don't forget about Chris Middleton too. Chris Middleton, he was injured for a large part of last year. I think I'm not saying Chris Middleton, he might not get back to prime Chris Middleton, but I think Chris Middleton is going to be very good this year. Obviously, knockdown mid-range shooter. I think he's going to shoot the long ball a little bit better this year, and I think he's just going to have more games where he's a little more effective as well.
Mm-hmm. You trust Doc?
What? Yeah, that's my head coach. Why wouldn't I?
Okay. I like the addition of Gary Trent. I like the addition of DeLon Wright. Those are two really solid depth additions. It's underrated. I don't think Giannis is the best player in the league, though. I don't either. Debatable.
But I think I think he's in the conversation, and it's a real conversation.
John, you said the league or the East?
What do you mean?
Giannis. No, he said he's the best player in the East, but
he's
Giannis,
the best player in the East.
He said best player in the East, but there's a
conversation. I don't think he's better than Joel Embiid, and I don't like Joel Embiid. I don't think he's a better player because here's the thing: he's 30 now. That arbitrary cutoff, whatever you want to say. We had that debate like last episode when I was on. We were talking about when do players have their peak. We said 28 to 30. Some people said 24 to 28. Whatever your definition of peak is, he ain't in it anymore. I'll tell you a couple of things that really help players age gracefully. Jump shooting. That's one of the major ones. Jump shooting, size. Size helps.
That's fair.
Giannis has taken less threes last year than he took in the 3 years, before. So that is going the wrong way. So the jump shooting has to come because when that athleticism and burst that he relies on goes away a little bit, and it might be going away like in the next 2-3 years. I mean, maybe this is a LeBron situation. Maybe it is. Maybe he's that type of athlete. Maybe he's going to be the type of athlete that 35, we're like, oh, how is he still doing it? How is he still going full court like that? But he's got to become more of a half court player, which means his decision-making got to be a little bit better. And when I compare him to the other guys in that conversation, which is Joel Embiid, Luka, and Jokic, I think the skill level of those guys is just higher, which means they age better, which means they're better when they get injured. Because that's what happens when you're injured, you're a little compromised. You lean more into your skills, right? You lean more into your IQ. Right. That's why Kobe could still play with a busted wrist or busted whatever, because he's smart like that. So I think like Giannis is a lot of it is the athleticism, a lot of it is the speed and the burst which he plays. Some of it is strength.
A lot of his game is predicated on athleticism and flight. In fact, the majority of his game is predicated on that. Sure, and I've seen him get, with the non-contact injury, that does worry me. But with that being said, I think this is a year that maybe we can get back to what he was a couple of years ago when he was respectable in the mid-range. I obviously see him working on it. It's not like he's not working on it. We see him in the offseason work on his mid-range. To be honest with you, Penn, I don't care about him shooting the long ball. I really don't. And the reason why I don't care about him shooting the long ball, because I feel like he's good enough to get to the basket that if he played better just respectable in the mid-range, that opens up so much more for the Milwaukee Bucks offense. Off the strength that now you have to honor that. That means that the rim opens up. That means that the lane opens up. You can't just leave him at the elbow. You can't just leave him at the free throw line because he can at least make one or two shots. Now, when you're talking about a guy being at the long ball line, even if he could make it, they'll live with him shooting that all night. Absolutely. Just like with Joel Embiid. As good as Joel Embiid is as a long ball shooter, you want to shoot threes all night, Joe? Knock yourself out. What we don't want Joel Embiid doing is we don't want Joel Embiid living in the mid-range. Hell no, we don't want Joel Embiid living in the mid-range because if he's living in the mid-range, that makes him even better. A guy like Giannis who can get downhill. When you talk about the skill level, I don't think we talk about Giannis as a distributor. I don't think we talk about Giannis's IQ as a defender. I don't think we talk about that nearly as much because he's a lot smarter. Now it looks better with Luka. I won't argue that because I do think Luka is a better passer. I don't think that Joel Embiid is a better passer and playmaker than Giannis. I don't think that. But I do think that he's a better mid-range shooter, and I think that opens up the offense. If Giannis can have something like that, that's just respectable. I think that makes Milwaukee so much better.
Chill. Of course, we don't talk about Giannis. Of course, we don't talk about the things that Giannis does, the fantastic play that Giannis has. You know what? I got it. Y'all just hate greatness. That's what it is. Y'all hate greatness. Y'all hate the fact that last year Giannis averaged 30 for the second straight year. Y'all hate the fact that he did it on his best percentage ever. He shot 61% from the field. That's Shaq dominance. Y'all hate the fact that he averaged the most assists that he's averaged in his career last year. Y'all just hate it for some reason. Y'all hate the fact that Giannis is going to come and have probably one of his best seasons that he's had. As a matter of fact, I'm going to project it. Giannis is going to have his best season yet this next year.
So he's going to be better this year than he was last year.
Yeah. Y'all hate the fact that Giannis is going to come and win his third MVP. Y'all just hate it. Yeah, for some reason, you guys, because Giannis can't shoot a three-point ball, you guys want to just hate on Giannis. Maybe it's the accent. Maybe you guys hate the accent. I don't know what it is. Is it the fact that he's a black European? Why do you guys hate Giannis Antetokounmpo? Why don't you guys ever want to give him his credit? Why? Hey, how come? Why is it crazy to say that Giannis is potentially the best player in the NBA? Why is it? Why,
he is less hated on than the other three guys. Come on, what are we doing here? He is more universally beloved than the other.
Yeah, Giannis is one of the most loved players in the league.
So why don't you guys?
Hold on,
Ron, you are the old man screaming at a cloud right now.
No, because here's what I'm saying. So you can say everything you just said. You could say he's not as hated as those guys, but he's not as loved as those guys either. You guys give Luka his flowers way more than
love Giannis. That's not
you guys that come up here and jock strap sniff Luka until it's nothing left. You guys that come up here and Jack Jokic like crazy.
Ron, what are you talking about? Giannis just was best out of the playoffs twice
Giannis.
In the first round, and we still talking about this dude being the best player in the game. What are you talking about? They love Giannis.
Chill.
What are you talking about?
Who?
They love Giannis
Who
around
loves
the league.
Giannis?
And by the way,
when's the last time we got Giannis praised up
out on him? Let's be clear about that. The indictment papers are out on Giannis. Let them get bounced again in round one.
Last year, Chill.
That's the point, Ron. Because now this is where we're getting to with Giannis.
Chill, you do know he played the most
same
games last
we had
year.
with Joel Embiid. We got to start talking about him like that.
He played 73 games last year, Chill. He just happened to get injured in the playoffs. We
just clown Kawhi for that. We just clown Kawhi for that.
That's different. Literally. We're not going to put Kawhi. Come on, that is nasty context, John, and you know that. We're not about to put Kawhi and Giannis in the same conversations. When we're talking about health,
we can give us the regular season. But it's like when it matters, Giannis was not playing. When it mattered last year against the Heat, Giannis was not playing. So if it happens again this year, there has to be some type of conversation because we can't keep slipping past that. We cannot.
If it happens a third straight season, I will give it to you. Last year, Giannis just happened to get injured after having a fully healthy season. He happened to get injured. It has not been no other health concerns like that with Giannis.
I agree with that. And I mean, maybe he's doing too much. And by the way, it's not like injuries are typically going to get better with age. It's going to get worse. No, so they need to lessen the load. And he carries a huge load because he's one of the rare superstars that actually plays defense. Really good defense, too. He might be one of the best off-ball defenders I've ever seen in my life. He's crazy. So, he's carrying a tremendous load. Huge usage offensively. He's doing everything. So he needs some help. And they got him some help. So he's going to be better this year. They got some shooters around him now. Like Gary Trent Jr. is gonna help, right? So if you're going to tell me he's the best player in the East, better than Joel Embiid, I can hear that conversation. It's not that far off. I think Embiid should deserve the edge just on talent and production and spacing and all the things that matter. And you might say it doesn't matter that he doesn't shoot the three. It doesn't matter for him. It matters for his teammates that he can't shoot the three, though. Because that means he's always occupying those driving lanes. He's always in the way. And he's a good screener.
That gives them open shots, though. When he's going downhill, you have to help off your man. Any
zone you can't operate in hurts your team. If you have a player who can only shoot threes, but they cannot finish at the rim, that hurts your team because it makes them less predictable. It changes the dynamicism of the player, right?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, the better players, the better the team is.
Well, I'm not just saying the better player. I'm saying like even when you take a guy like Marc Gasol.
If you said they can't finish at the rim, which means they have a deficiency.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is if you can't finish at the rim, then I don't really have to send help if I know that your percentages are ass at the rim, I don't need to send a double team there because you're not finishing 65%. You take a player like a Russell Westbrook, notoriously a bad 3-point shooter, but a willing 3-point shooter, always willing to launch them, right? Take a guy like Marc Gasol. People call him a stretch big. He never shot really that great from three, right? And he was wide open on them, but he was taking them because he can occupy that space on the court and it helps your team, right? So you take a guy like Giannis. My big issue with him is not just his percentages are not good and his jump shot looks funky, is that he doesn't take them. And that hurts. His percentages can be super high, but if all your shots are in this one zone, then that's changing the driving angles for your team, right? If the offense is not going through you, how are you helping Damian Lillard get to the rim with that? You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like, I think it's a good idea to surround him with 3-point shooters. It would be good if he could take a few himself.
All right, we're moving on to the Toronto Raptors. This pick is on me, and I'm going to go ahead and put them in that pretenders tier. This would be the first team that goes into this tier. Let me go ahead and throw this up here right now so everybody can see. This is what we're working with right now. We have 3 contenders, the Sixers, the Cavs, and the Bucks. We have 2 mid teams, the Atlanta Hawks, the Indiana Pacers. We have 1 pretender, Toronto Raptors. And then we got 2 trash teams, the Wizards and the Pistons. This is how we looking right now. This is what the list is, but we're going to continue to keep it pushing. We just need you guys to like the video, subscribe, send through some super chats, and also become a member. Penn, it's back to you, and you have the Dallas Mavericks.
I'll put the Dallas Mavericks in the contender title, or in the contenders. Like, I would. Yeah.
I would too.
I think the Klay Thompson addition helps. I think it's a fresh start for him. If I buy the concept that a player is not the same when they're just mentally exhausted by the situation, allegedly he was very mentally exhausted. I'm not saying he's going to turn into 2016 Klay, but there's got to be a better version of the type of player we saw last year, right? And he's still a smart player, still has all that championship experience and pedigree. There's still a fear factor. If he gets open in transition, your mind is like, I gotta sprint out. That helps. That's just not happening with the players they had on the wing last year. You're not sprinting out that way to PJ Washington. You're not sprinting out that way to Derrick Jones. So I think that helps. That helps them, and they get 1 more year of Derek Lively, who I'm very high on, one of my favorite young players. I thought he showed tremendous potential in the playoffs. So I really like that for them. To just on the Raptors thing, I'm not upset that you put the Raptors in the pretenders here. It's fine. They got the worst schedule.
I should have put them in the trash.
No, I'm not mad at pretender status. It's fine. I think their record might be trash. Might be. Because initially, before we saw the schedule, I was like, this team's gonna probably be in the play-in. Because there's some reasonable expectation of growth
for them. Is it rough early for them?
It's the worst schedule. It's the hardest schedule. I looked at the schedule. I'm like, 2-18 start would not surprise me at all. It's so brutal. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, oh, is the league trying to gift us Cooper flag? Like, what's going on here? So it was tough. And obviously, if you start that far in the hole, then your mind just goes to tanks. So I'm not mad at the pretender thing. I think they'll probably finish with 30 wins or so. So yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we talk about Najee Marshall
enough.
The addition of
He's
Najee
really
Marshall.
good.
Yeah, I just think the addition of Najee Marshall, that was huge for Dallas. I mean, that's a DN3 guy. He knocks the long ball down better than Derrick Jones. Derrick Jones is a better athlete. I won't argue that. But I think that Najee Marshall is a better defender than him. I do. And I think he's a more versatile jump shooter than him. I think Derek Lively improves this year. They got the best scorer in the game in Luka. I don't think there's anybody in the game who scores the basketball easier than Luka. Of all the guys who scored, and we got a bunch of guys who scored the basketball. I think they got the best scorer in the game. But the Western Conference is serious. It is. The Western Conference is serious, and I'll be interested to see how Dallas fares. I will. I'm not as high on you guys. I'm not as high on Clay as you guys are. I think the best version of Clay, I think we've already seen it, and you're at your pen. You're trying to sell me that Clay is reinventing himself with this Dallas Maverick team, playing in a not a slower pace, but a less ball movement offense that he's more used to, more of a catch and shoot guy. He's not used to a guy holding onto the basketball and waiting on the basketball. So I'm interested to see how that's going to work with them.
I could probably infuse him into some of the second units. And I totally forgot about Najee Marshall. He's like one of my favorite players of the Pelicans. Mm-hmm. And I really believe in him being an upgrade over Derrick Jones. Like I do believe that. I do think losing Josh Green sucks, though. I like Josh Green. Mm-hmm. He's a good role player off the bench. But they got Jaden Hardy off the bench? Hardy. I mean, he's going to be like, he's interesting. But really, most of my rating for them as contenders, it hinges on Luka, but it also hinges on Derek Lively. Like, I am unusually high on this kid, and I think he really is going to be like a top 5, top 7 center in his prime. And his short roll passing, his decision making, the fact that he can shoot. We have seen it in high school. He can shoot. So if he starts launching them in the NBA, now you got a stretch big who's an elite rim protector, really good rebounder, and he's a good passer. Like, what are we talking about here? We're talking about we're talking about a top center, the top center. So I know Luka was real upset that they tanked. They got Derek Lively.
I'm a little higher on the Mavericks after signing Klay Thompson because I just think that's something they needed. They needed somebody who can really catch and shoot well, can hit from multiple different spots on the floor. And I think he does that better than Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington. And I think the Warriors were in the wrong for trying to expect the second most shots per game from Klay Thompson. I think when you have one of the best offensive players in the league in Luka Doncic, I think it's not going to be the toughest to figure out, like, how can we get Klay in motion and how can we integrate Luka with PJ and Kyrie. I think there's something there they can figure out there. And I think Najee Marshall and Quentin Grimes defensively coming off the bench, they can throw out different lineups. And then Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. I think there were minutes in the playoffs where Jason Kidd was just throwing them out at 5 minutes at a time so they can just stay fresh. They don't have to play extremely long. There's somebody who can come in and keep this team afloat defensively. And I just think that's a recipe for them to be a top 4 seed in the West, in my opinion.
So only thing I'm trying to figure out.
Real quick, Ron. This is a nightmare. To start the season, quick side note, Penn. So they start Cleveland, Philly, at Minnesota, Denver, at Charlotte, Lakers, Kings, at Denver, at Sacramento, at the Lakers, at Milwaukee. That's their first 10 games.
Joe,
who the hell put that together?
Check the end of the schedule. Check the end of the year. It's crazy. It's like Detroit, Washington. It's like crazy. I'm like, why did the league do this to the Raptors? It's like, yo, I think Emmanuel Quickley is going to be good. Like, I really think, like, I've been seeing the work that he's been putting in this offseason. They really missed Jakob Poeltl last year. You know, RJ Barrett has been basically playing great basketball for like 8 months straight up. Since that New York trade, I know RJ in New York was a very polarizing figure. People couldn't stand him. He's like 2 weeks good, 3 weeks bad. 2 weeks good, 3 weeks bad with RJ in New York. People hated RJ in New York. I have a lot of friends who like, you're a problem now, right? But RJ Barrett with the Raptors, radically different player. Plus, he went through the death of his brother last year, which was a very tragic thing with Nathan Barrett. So, you know, the Raptors had a lot to deal with last year. So I think that the Raptors could have been like a 36-40 win team this year, maybe push the play in, you know, on the strength of the fact that really last year they were playing G Leaguers at the end. They tanked the entire end of the season last year. So don't look at the record, right? They were 10. I think they were 10-11 or 10-11 to start the season. when they were still competing, and then they lost some games, and then they just pulled the plug on the season. So I think they could be decent, but that schedule is just brutal.
I'm sorry. I just looked at that schedule. I'm sorry, Ron, to interrupt you. That's 11 of their first 15 games against playoff teams. There's a lottery team last year.
You got the Nuggets next, Chill. What tier do you want to put them in?
Same thing I said about Milwaukee. I think that they're legit contenders because they got the best player in the league. So no matter what else is going on in Denver, the fact that they got Joker, that's going to give them an opportunity to be in the conversation to be the champs. If I look at what the addition of Russell Westbrook, people think that because they lost KCP that they added Westbrook to take his place. They're not. They added Westbrook because they needed a backup lead guard. And they haven't filled the KCP hole, but I think that they're more apt this season than they were last season because they understand what it looks like being the champs and who's going to be eyeing them. So guys like MPJ, Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, who if he can stay healthy this season throughout the rest of the season, I think that's going to be instrumental for them. I think Christian Brown gives them a punch that they need off the bench this year. I think he's going to be better. I definitely think they're a top 4 seed in the Western Conference, maybe even a top 3 seed. And they got the best player in the league. So I think they're contenders 100%.
I think Nikola Jokic is you hit it on the head. Nikola Jokic is the reason why this team is a contender. And I don't think there are a lot of superstars in the NBA that could propel this team that high. Like, I don't think there might be one with Luka, but other than that, I really don't think there's a superstar that can propel this team to that high of a level. Losing KCP, I don't think it's as big as people think it is, but I definitely understand you lose some shooting, you lose some defense, and it's going to be hard to ask those young players like Christian Brown and Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther to really come in and fill that role, and then you lose your guy that you drafted, Deron Holmes, for the entire season. That sucks. And Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, their floor spacing has been in question, or at least a lot of people have been bringing that up. I wouldn't worry about that until if we get to like the All-Star break and they're both shooting below average, then it would be an issue. But I'm coming into the season still thinking they could be a top 3 seed in the West. I still think they are extremely tough matchup. Nikola Jokic makes any matchup a tough matchup. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make it back to the finals, man. I just wouldn't.
I'm lower on the Nuggets than all of you, and that should shock everybody because I probably have the reputation of being this Jokic glazer. But I watched Jamal Murray this summer, not look good. Jamal Murray in the playoffs, not look good. So I hope he's healthy, and I hope now that a contract dispute is behind him, But in the modern NBA, in the modern CBA, you got 2 players on max money who are not max players. Jamal Murray and Michael Porter, and now you got Aaron Gordon going into a contract here. You got young players that haven't worked out, or young players who are injured in Deron Holmes. I think Deron Holmes could have made a difference, maybe as a backup stretch big or a backup center who could shoot a little bit. And the Jokic, jump shooting, that's a big game changer for me, right? And his defensive effort. Because the year they won the chip, 2 things were true. Jokic was shooting it well, and he was trying defensively. Like, there was a lot of compete. And if you watch him with Serbia this year, there was a lot of effort defensively. Mm-hmm. I didn't really see a lot of effort defensively in the playoffs last year. I saw a lot of lazy closeouts, just letting guys go past him. Right. And that's not cool, right? He's got to be better than that. If they're going to have a chance, he's going to have to be the best version of himself. Michael Porter's going to have to be much better. He's going to have to be Lakers Michael Porter all year. You can't just show up in one series. You're a max player. And I really thought that, I don't know how I feel about him saying the money makes it hard to enjoy the game. I don't know how I felt about those comments. That's not what I want to hear.
That's because of the expectation. When you see the money, there's an expectation. There's a level of expectation.
Don't sign it. Then don't sign the contract.
Yeah, that's true too. I won't argue
even that. Pin ball out.
Yeah.
And tie your shoes tight and go out there and hoop.
He was the number 1 player in the country. It's not like he's not talented. He's very talented. I think that's what's frustrating.
Everything.
I think the problem we also have in Penn, to counter your point when you talked about MPJ, well, they ran into a buzzsaw in Minnesota because they actually matched up well with them. The Lakers didn't have anything for Michael Porter Jr. He was a mismatch for them, especially considering the lineup that they had with D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves. A lot of times those guys were switched on him. You got a 6'10" guy and a 6'5" guy. You're too small to cover him, especially the shooter that he is. Well, then you add guys like Jaden McDaniels, who's 6'9", who can slow him down. And he did a great job in slowing him down, which ultimately slowed their offense down because that was predicated on Joker getting him shots in transition. Well, Jaden McDaniels finds him in transition, and he kind of 86s that. But we're talking about right now. Like, I understand what you mean when you're talking about the CBA, what it could mean long term. They still got Aaron Gordon under contract this year. They just inked Jamal Murray for an extension. They still do have MPJ under contract, and they still have Joker under contract for this season. They saw what the NBA looked like in terms of being a champ. They saw how people were gunning for them. Well, this season, they're more prepared for that. I don't think that the offense changes that much because Joker is just such a juggernaut that what was working is still going to work. Guys just have to make more shots because it's not like they're getting different looks. And I think what you talked about with Jamal Murray, I think health is the biggest problem with him more than anything. I got to start resigning myself to the fact that he may be an injury-prone player. Before I thought that when he tore up his knee, I thought that might have just been an anomaly. But it's starting to look like, not necessarily he's breaking down, but he's starting to get injured, and that's affecting his game. And that's a problem moving forward.
He doesn't guard. He doesn't play defense. And at a 6'5" guard, I need you to play a little bit of defense. Michael Porter Jr., 6'10" wing, long arms. I need you to rebound. I need you to do something else. And these guys are just standing around. They play one way. They don't play two-way. And by the way, they're not being anchored by Hakeem Olajuwon out there. They're being anchored by Nikola Jokic. So you got to help him out. He can't be doing everything. You can't be having that same Damian Lillard thing. You can't have a layup line because there's nothing back there. Aaron Gordon is good. He's not Giannis. He's not Hakeem. He's not Wemby. He's good. He looks really great compared to these guys, but he's just a good defender. And KCP, you might say, oh, well, no big deal. Huge deal. That was the one guy.
No, I'm not saying that, man. No, I'm not.
Not you, but I think somebody said it's not as big a deal that they lost KCP. I think John D, you said it's not a big deal that they lost KCP.
It is.
Yeah, for an average team with really good defense, maybe the Boston Celtics losing KCP is not a big deal because they got something to plug that in. But for the Denver Nuggets, that might just be critical mass right there.
John D, why don't you think that's a big deal, them losing KCP?
I don't think Christian Braun is as good as a defender as KCP, but I still think he can be solid on the floor. He's athletic. He's strong. I think he can bring something defensively to that team. I still think Aaron Gordon is a good defender. I think Peyton Watson is a good defender as well if he could get his jump shot together. I still think they have some solid defenders they can bring in to kind of negate losing KCP, but I don't think they're going to get the shooting plus the defense that KCP gave.
But they had those guys last year.
Right.
They had those guys. It's not like they added Christian Braun. They had Christian Braun last year. It's not they had Peyton Watson. Peyton Watson is one of my favorite young players in the league, but his jump shot has been questionable for a long time. This is not like a new thing. Right. And with Christian Braun, I mean, okay, you got one. You used to have two. And you struggled when you had two. And now you got one. And by the way, you got the worst one. And Christian Braun is definitely worse right now as a basketball player than KCP. You could say 100%. He might be better in 2 years, but he's worse right now. So you had very little of one thing from two guys, which is perimeter defense and competent scoring, because Peyton Watson basically a non-scorer right now. You had a couple of competent wings who could play two ways. You compare that to the other teams across the league. How many competent two-way wings does the average contender have? Usually 4, 3, 4, 5, right? So now you had two. Now you have one. And you lost the better one. It's a big deal.
And on top of that, them, like you talked about.
And they lost Bruce Brown the previous year. So they had three.
Yes.
They had three. Then they had two. Now they got one.
And on top of what John D just was talking about in terms of losing defense, I mean, we're talking about a guy in KCP who was playing at an all-league defensive level.
Yeah, for 100%.
These guys, I don't think Brown is close to that. I don't think Peyton Watson, I don't think he's close to that. So when you lose that,
Peyton play defense.
There's a difference between playing defense and playing defense at a high level. KCP played defense at a high level, and they needed that. That was huge for them last year. So the fact that Peyton Watson doesn't play defense at that level, and on top of that, he can't make open shots. Now the gap gets even bigger. when you lose him
defensively.
Fellas, I gotta step in though, because we gotta keep it pushing. We gotta run through these next teams. Before we do that, I do want to shout out all of our Hall of Famers. GDHDG, shout out to him. Shout out to Kendall Daniels. Shout out to Hunting Gilgores. Shout out to Jerry Allity. Shout out to Arch. Shout out to my dog Moti Kenny, and shout out to Cobra Son of Raditz. Appreciate y'all for being Hall of Famers and just being elite. Speaking of which, John D, you have the next team, and it's the Memphis Grizzlies. What tier are you going to place them in? You muted,
tough.
John.
It's tough.
There you
go. No, I'm not muted. It's just I'm a big jaw guy. I think they can be fringe contenders. They're like right on the line of being contenders.
Fringe contenders is not a category. You got to
That's
pick.
Not a thing, Penn. That is not a thing. Like either you in or you out. Which one is it? Are they in or are they out?
I don't want to say this. They're pretenders.
Okay.
Pretenders.
Pretenders.
They're pretenders. They're pretenders.
You skipped mid.
They're pretenders. They're going to be a playoff team, but I think a lot of the conversation around the Memphis Grizzlies that they're going to be right back at the top of the Western Conference, just like how they were. I think the West got a lot better. I still don't believe in the Memphis Grizzlies half-court offense. I don't believe in their floor spacing with guys like Jaren Jackson, Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams, Marcus Smart. I
love their half-court offense. Just off the strength of having Ja. I love their half-court offense.
I think what you're saying is they're mid. I think you're saying
that's what it sounds like to me.
Because pretenders right now is the Toronto Raptors. So either we're going to adjust these categories so that mid is lower than pretenders.
Right.
For you,
I have the Lakers.
It's on him. If he thinks that they pretenders, he just gave his reasons why.
I think they're going to be one of the best defensive teams in the league. Don't get me wrong.
That's going to be the reason why they're at the top of the Western Conference, and that's going to translate to the postseason. For that reason, right there,
they have a legit chance to win a championship. This is going to be clipped. This clip is going to come back and haunt your dreams, man.
That's fine with me. Hey, okay. If I'm wrong, make edits to this video. Do whatever you got to do. But I just don't trust their half court offense. I really don't. John Moran is extremely inefficient sometimes, and he's one of my favorite
about
players,
a bunch of guards, though. You can say that about a bunch of guards. I just watched the Knicks go to Game 7 when they had Jalen Brunson, who won a series where he was shooting 30% when the series started. So we got guards who are inefficient. However, we're talking about a Memphis team who we got the whole crew back, and we added a 5-man in Zach Edey, which was exactly what they needed. They're going to speed the game up. They're going to be even better defensively. And you don't give Ja enough credit for the distributor that he is.
He is a great distributor.
You don't give Ja enough credit for the distributor that he is. And Desmond Bane, one of the better knockdown shooters in the game, who we also don't give credit to. So when you get Gigi Jackson back in the lineup, that Memphis team is going to be serious.
Desmond's also an underrated defender.
I hope I'm wrong.
That Memphis team is going to be serious. Yes,
Desmond Bane's also a super underrated defender and a really underrated passer. So I think that this is a really good team. I could buy them just, being 6. I cannot buy them being lower than 6 in the West.
No, I still think they're going to be top 6 in the West. I just don't think that the reason I say they're pretenders is because I be hearing a lot of discourse on people saying that the Memphis Grizzlies are top 2 in the West, top 3. I just don't think that they're better than the Thunder. I don't think they're better than the Timberwolves. I still don't think they're better than the Nuggets. I don't think that they can be a Western Conference Finals team or be a team that makes the finals. I don't believe that. And if I'm wrong, so be it. If I'm wrong, so be it. But
I think the thing is that based on our criteria, you're calling them mid, because pretenders. In effect, Chad is right. Like the list, pretenders should be ahead of mid. But you know what I mean? Like I think pretenders are like pretending to be playoff teams. Right. I don't think pretenders means pretending to be contenders.
Yeah, like my pretenders are the Grizzlies, the Lakers, the Warriors, and the Clippers. Like those are my pretenders. Like teams that
legacy franchises that think that they're going to spark the fountain of youth. I get it. Yeah, my mids were like the Bulls. That was my mid. Okay, I get it. I get what we did wrong here. Okay.
All right. Next, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is on me. And I am going to put them as the first team at the top tier, which is the elite tier, which means you have a legit shot at winning a ring next year.
I think they represent the Western Conference in the finals this year. I do. I think they take that step. I think they represent the Western Conference in the finals this year. I think Ant is better. I think defensively, overall, they're going to be better. One of the guys that I feel like is a major cog in this thing that has to be better offensively is Jaden McDaniels. I think Jaden McDaniels is going to be better as a jump shooter because when he's doing that, he stretches their defense and he stretches the defense and makes their offense even more potent. I think they could be better in transition, and I think that should be a focal point this year for them to play faster because the athletes that they have, they should be playing faster than they are. They should be converting more in transition than they are. They were a mid-transition team last year. I think they were like 15 or 16 last year. They should be better than what they are, considering what they do on defense. They should be speeding the game up more and converting more on offense, converting more in transition. When I look at this Minnesota team, the offense that they have, I think that it's going to be predicated on Jaden McDaniels getting better and Anthony Edwards getting better. I already know who Cat is. I'm not on the fence about that. So it's going to be defense, it's going to be transition offense, and it's going to be them in the half court and the meat and potatoes of the game. I think they can represent the West. I think they represent the Western Conference in the NBA Finals this year.
It's not just 3-point shooting. Well, go ahead, John.
I'm more on the Thunder train for representing the Western Conference. I just think the spots they were lacking last season, let's say with the size with Chet Holmgren, they got better with Isaiah Hartenstein. You move out Josh Giddey, who really threw a wrench in your offense because he can't stretch the floor. You bring in a guy like Alex Caruso, or you can start guys like Isaiah Joe and Cason Wallace or Aaron Wiggins, 3 guys who I believe who are always in the right spot at the right time, can play defense. They just have a lot of versatility on that team to where I think they can match up against a lot of the best teams in the league and still be favorited. So I'm still going to pick the Oklahoma City Thunder. I definitely don't hate thinking the T-Wolves can make it to the NBA Finals because I still think they're going to be the best defense in the league. I think Anthony Edwards is going to get a lot better this season. I still think I'm still holding out hope that Karl Anthony Towns is going to be consistent throughout a playoff run. I'm just higher on the Thunder, I'm just higher on the Thunder.
Yeah, the thing about Cat is we know what we're going to get from Cat. We've had a large enough sample size. Cat is going to Cat. He's going to have 2 good games out of the series. He's going to have a couple bad games. Then he's going to have games where it's like, okay, Cat, you made a couple key plays. You knocked down a couple big threes. Okay. But my thing with these guys is Ant. We don't necessarily got to talk about Ant. We talk about Ant all the time. I'm talking about the other guys. I'm talking about Jaden McDaniels. I think he has a legit shot at getting the most improved player of the year award this year. I think he takes that type of leap offensively. I think he can go from 10 points a game. I think he can get into that 16, 17 tier. He's going to have more shots. And a lot of you guys don't know, Jaden McDaniels has a bag. It's just his thing is more so just getting stronger. He has an offseason to get stronger. He had the playoffs last year where he played tremendously better. We got to actually see him, and we got to see what he's capable of on offense. Chill, I don't just think it's going to be the 3-ball. He shot 33% in the regular season last year. In the playoffs, he upped that to 42%. Can he do that over a full season sample size? I don't know. But I do think he does improve from that 3-point line. But also with Jaden McDaniels, what I do like from him is I think a lot of his he's going to show other things on offense. He's going to show an ability to get to that mid-range shot. He's going to get to the rim better. He's going to get out on the fast break more. I think he just shows a little bit more of his versatility on the offensive end. Also, Naz Reid. This is why I don't trip off Cat at all, because Cat can go sit his big ass down on the bench. Naz Reid is for real. Naz Reid ain't nothing to play around with, and he showed that in the playoffs. Naz Reid to come play defense on Jokic, and on the other end, give you 20 points. Naz Reid is one of them, and he's their 6th man. And then you add a couple other players. Nikhil, I think he's going to improve. I think he's going to be a lot better. He got his feet under him in the playoffs. He's a good defender off the bench. And then you don't know what you're going to get. I know he's a rookie. You don't know what you're going to get from Rob Dillingham. And then on top of that, too, they have the defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert. These guys are going to be good again, very good again next year.
Rudy can't guard. Rudy can't defend. He can't do anything defensively. He sucks as a defender.
Rudy got cooked by the best player in the league. He sucks defensively. Rudy couldn't guard Luka in space. He sucks.
Yeah, fucking crashed my car listening to that shit.
Yeah, but for me, the 2 biggest things.
You think Shaq's being a hater
about Rudy?
Yeah.
No, he's not. You got to remember who Shaq is.
You called him the most trash player,
and you got to remember. You got to remember who he is. He's the last of the 5 men. And when you're talking about a max player,
but Jokic dead?
No. When I talk about the 5-man, I'm talking about the 5-man that played on the block, the traditional 5-man. That's what he's expecting from a max player like Rudy Gobert that plays on the defensive side of the ball. He's expecting him to be more. He's expecting him to be better offensively. But I could say the same thing about, could I say that about Mutombo?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Mutombo didn't play that way. Alonzo Mourning didn't necessarily always play that way.
But the difference with Alonzo was definitely more offensively efficient. Alonzo could knock down the mid-range.
Well, it's not like Rudy Gobert is not offensively efficient.
Oh, I won't argue that. I'm the one
or dynamic.
I'm the one on here saying that Rudy, he's more open in the paint, and I feel like you should get him the ball when he's diving to the basket more. I'm not one of these people that's saying that you should go to Rudy in the post more. No, I'm not saying that. But I see Rudy on pick and dives open at the rim a lot of times that he gets missed. And I would recommend getting him the ball around the rim a little bit more. I would recommend him getting the ball around the rim a little bit more. But to answer your question, you got to remember who you're talking to here. You're talking to one of the dying breed of 5-men, and he expects the 5-man to play like he did. So if you're a max player, he expects that.
I don't hate it. If you're gonna say, yeah, I think Rudy Gobert is overrated because of his offense, I'm not gonna argue with you on that. But to say his defense is overrated, that's where it's like, I don't think you're really watching, because it's like Rudy Gobert does so much well defensively, and people just skip past it because he got cooked by the best player in the league. When I think he guarded Nikola Jokic better than Anthony Davis did. I think he also guarded Nikola Jokic better than Bam did in the finals. But it is what it is. People don't want to accept that. And he was great on the perimeter against KD and Bradley Beal and D-Book and all those guys in the first round.
All I'm saying is there's plenty of bigs in Shaq's era who are less efficient than Rudy Gobert. Plenty.
And he called them garbage too. So he did the same thing with them.
If anybody has the right to call anybody garbage,
Shaq is a generational hater.
I'm not saying that it's like he should, but if anybody has the right at any position, But all right, we got to get to the Spurs. They are next, and John.
The Spurs?
No. It's on you, Penn.
It's on me.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we using what categories are we using here? Because I want to say something about the Spurs, but it's gonna put them in pretender category. They're a play-in team, right? So if we want to adjust this, I don't think this
play-in's pretender. So regardless of the names of the tiers, you guys get caught up in a lot of semantics.
Okay, so then you got to put Memphis back in mid.
That's where John put him.
No, but I put them in pretenders thinking because I had a different way of thinking what pretenders were. I thought.
So John, I'll give you a chance to re-put Memphis in the tiers. These are the tiers, regardless of the names. Let's not get caught up in the semantics of the names. You have 5 different tiers. Elite is a legit.
Are they red or are they green?
Contender.
Just think about the colors.
They're better than the Hawks and the Pacers. So I would put them in the contenders tier, but I looked at pretenders as in they're gonna have a great record, but the playoff success might not.
No, so don't get caught in the name. Elite is a team that has a legit shot at winning the championship. Contenders is conference finals or better. They have the potential to do that. They can do that. Mid is you'll probably be anywhere from a 5 to 8 seed. Yeah, playoffs, first round bounce. Maybe second round, but more than likely first round bounce. Pretenders is playing. Potentially fall out of the playoffs.
And trash is Cooper Flag.
Yes.
Okay,
Brooklyn,
well put Memphis in the contender.
Portland.
I'll put Memphis in the contender.
Memphis, big jump. All right, now the world makes sense. Okay, I will put the Spurs. I'll put the Spurs in the pretender category. So I think they're still a year away, right? But I think the Wemby jump is coming and it's real. And you're going to see flashes of it. And, I believe in their young players.
Yeah, you just said you put them in the contender conversation?
Hey, fellas, I'm going to be right back. Chill, you got Utah next. When you're
you had them in the contender conversation?
No, the pretender.
Oh, the pretender. I thought you said contender. I'm sorry.
No. I'm not stupid. No. Okay. I'll put them in the pretender category.
Sure.
And in this case, I expect them to win north of 30 games. I expect Wembanyama to start pushing them to make competitive decisions. By the way, actually, I'm going to adjust that. I'm going to put them in mid. Oh, boy. And I am really leaning on 40-year-old Chris Paul to do me a favor here. Chris Paul is, apart from last year where he was a backup, when he's had the ball in his hands, regardless of what stop, he has turned around franchises' fortunes, right? I think the Wemby jump is so legit that I think they will be a play-in bounce. I think they're going to make the play-in. I think they're going to be like the 10th or 9th. So, you know what? Yeah, keep him a pretender.
I think you living in 2019, 2020 with a younger Chris Paul when he did that with that Oklahoma City team. I can appreciate that logic.
It's the IQ transfer.
Yeah, I do understand that. Right, I do understand that part. Now, the question is with the IQ transfer, who is he transferring this to? And are these guys going to get it? That's number one. Number two, he is on the roster, which means he has to play. So we're talking about a Chris Paul who's going to be almost 40 years old. He has been a plus when he's been on the floor for limited minutes. Yes, he has been. However, when we're talking about being better, significantly better, like what you're talking about, north of 30 wins. What's north of 30 wins? Are we talking 35 wins? Because like I said, the play-in team is winning 46, 47 games. That's what the play-in team is winning. That means that's double the wins we had last year. If we're doing if we're doing double, I think that's asking. I
feel bad calling the Spurs trash. It's hard to call them trash, though.
Well, the reason why is there's a reason why they had the number 1 overall pick. They were trash, and now they got an elite player, and then they have Harrison Barnes, and they have Harrison Barnes, and they got Chris Paul. Okay, so they're just less trash. They're not there yet because what we're doing is we're depending solely, not solely. Solely is not the word I'm looking for. We're depending a lot on our big guy, our second-year big guy, who we're still not sure about. We're projecting on this guy. How much better is he going to be than he is right now? Well, I don't know if he's double the wins, but they're still a team in transition. They're not a team that's there yet, and because we talk about Wemby the way we talk about him, we want them to be there right now, and they're not. So it's okay to say that, yo, these dudes is garbage. It's okay to say that.
Do you think Victor Wembanyama is a better player than Paolo Banchero? I caught you debate on Paolo. You were talking about Paolo, so I'm assuming you read into him a lot. Do you think Victor Wembanyama is a better player than Paolo Banchero?
Yeah.
The fact that you have to think about this.
Yes. Today, yes, I think he's a better
player.
Today
is what is being thought about.
Yes.
When I'm talking about who
now we're moving forward. Now we're moving forward.
Yeah,
all
that's
things
not
considered. I don't think so. But today, I think Banchero is a better player than Victor Wembanyama. Today.
Okay.
I don't think it's a huge
I don't
gap,
think it's close. I don't even think they're in the same stratosphere.
You think
Victor Wembanyama is clearly a better player. Last year, what Wemby did in his rookie year, pretty much in every single category, offensively, defensively, everything, clears Banchero's entire career. He was more efficient than him. And I'm not even talking about
he has a 2-year career. You make it seem like you've been around for 10 years. He got a 2-year career.
I just got the job.
I don't care. We're talking about him versus a rookie. Are we not?
Well, second-year player versus a rookie. So, I mean, yeah.
Sure.
I will, I'm going to fill in for Mars here on the analytics here. Give me 1 sec here.
I think the numbers don't favor, especially just like analytics don't favor a lot of players. Analytics don't like Banchero.
They sure don't.
The analytics do not like Banchero. But you know what I like? I like to watch Banchero, and I like to watch how he passes. His rebounding can get better, which I think it's going to get better, but it's still damn good. His ability to score downhill, his ability to knock down open shots, I think that those things are paramount when we're talking. I think those things are paramount as a second-year guy. I'm not talking about a guy whose efficiency is in year 6 or year 7. We're talking about a guy who just got the job, whose efficiency did go up this season than it did last season. And when I see that a guy's efficiency has gone up, when I see a guy's field goal percentage goes up, I said this to Pirate a couple of days ago. When I see a guy's efficiency goes up, that tells me that he's taking better shots. That means he's getting smarter. And when I see that from him, that holds a lot of weight with me. So if I'm thinking about today. Now, again, we're not talking about, am I building my unit more around Wemby than I am about Paolo moving forward? No, I'm not saying that. In September of 2024, I think Paolo Banchero is a better player than Victor Wembanyama.
All right, y'all, we do got to move on. I want to shout out to our members, MC Robinson, our new members today, MC Robinson, Tay Luke 777, Napping Trey, and Kaz 2929. Shout out to those guys for joining up today. Also, Quan said, well, he sent through a members chat. He said Celtics haven't repeated since Bill Russell's era. What's the chances they do it this year?
I still think they have the best team in the league. I still think they're the best team in the league. So I think there's a pretty good chance they can do it. I still think they're head and shoulders the best team in the Eastern Conference. It's definitely going to be tougher this year because I don't expect every single team they play against to be injured, but I still think they can handle business and get back to the NBA Finals. And I think they have that duo with Drew Holiday and Derek White that can make it tough on Anthony Edwards or a SGA or a Jamal Murray or a Luka Doncic, just like how they against anybody they could really face out west. And I think they have two great defenders in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They're the best team in the league to me. So I think they can do it again.
All right.
Ran it back. Yep.
Chill. You have the Utah Jazz.
I think they're if I'm being honest, I think they garbage. Yes. I think they trash.
Trash?
I think Utah's at the bottom of the Western Conference this year. I don't think that they're there yet, even though I do like what Keontae George brings. I still don't know what they're doing with Jordan Clarkson. Like, why is he still on the roster? They don't have a plan with Walker Kessler. They have none. I mean, 1 minute he looks like he's the second coming of Rudy Gobert as a defensive player, and then the next he can't get off the bench. I don't have any idea what they're doing with him. I do think that they got a steal in Isaiah Collier, and I think that that's going to help them out a lot at the lead guard spot. I think that they're going to be at the bottom of the Western Conference again.
All right, moving along, John, you have the Clippers.
The Clippers are mid. I think they're one injury away from being a team that may lose like 7 out of their next 10. And that's very, very tough to go through in a Western Conference that's going to be so close this year. I don't hate the Derrick Jones Jr. signing. I think that's a great pickup to have next to Kawhi Leonard and James Harden and Norman Powell, just a athletic defender, and then re-signing Zubats. But I think this experiment with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, I think it was the right move to do at the time, but now it just didn't pan out. Guys get injured or they underachieve, and now they're in this situation where they don't have their picks. They're in a new arena, so they have to sell tickets. So they want to keep their stars, and it's not going to lead to much wins, in my opinion. So I'm gonna have them in mid.
I don't got them making the playoffs this year. I think the Clippers are going to be trash too. I'm good on the Clippers.
I don't hate it.
They're a playing team and don't make the playoffs? Or
I don't think they make the playoffs.
Outright don't make the play.
I think the window has closed on the Clippers, and I'm out on the Clippers.
I think they'll be a playing team, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Rockets beat them in a playing game or if the Rockets beat the Warriors in a playing game. I wouldn't be surprised.
1 or 2 of these teams are going to be bad. Just don't know which ones yet.
All right. I have the Suns next. And like how John was saying, I want to put them in a category that's not up here called fringe contenders. But it's a lot of teams in this contender tier. And I'm torn between the Suns, but I'm going to just be realistic right now. I'm going to put them in that mid tier.
Rod, you sound like the dude that want to go out with the chick, but you ain't really sure. Like,
sure, I get a lot of those too.
I kind of want to hang out with you, but it's something about you that's making me go, nah, I'm good.
You just not convincing me enough.
Yeah, I'm good.
And I'm like, and I can't go out with you when I'm looking over at her, and I'm like, she wants to, and you just aren't convincing me enough to tell her no and tell you yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put you right here in this mid tier, Suns.
And I definitely think they got a lot better.
They got a new coach. They got Coach Bud. That helps, right? Especially when you're replacing Frank Vogel. That helps. They got Mason Plumlee. I really like their draft pick, Ryan Dunn.
So do I.
That was Milwaukee's guy. Can't believe they passed on him. That was their guy.
Yeah,
possibly the best defender in this draft. They needed that. And they got point guards. Not 1, but 2. I think they had a very underrated offseason.
For what they could do, I think they had a great offseason.
Yeah, they were a team in a shoebox.
Exactly.
In a phone booth. They had handcuffs on. They couldn't do shit. And they did everything right. This is a team that hired the right coach. I'm not even a big Bud believer. I just think he's a massive upgrade over what they had. In terms of what they have. The roster that they have, the coach that they got is a perfect fit for the roster that they have.
Exactly.
Right? If you can unlock Bradley Beal, and I don't buy this shit about Bradley Beal, it's just trash. Not trash.
That's crazy.
He's overrated, overpaid. Probably shouldn't have given him that no trade clause. Probably shouldn't give him $50 million. He's not trash.
Shouldn't have traded for him.
Still a good player. You still anchor your second unit easy.
Who the hell says he was trash?
Hey, chill.
Some people saying he's trash.
He was 17-7 as the third guy. How many teams got a 17-7 guys? Their number 3 guy.
But this is the thing, Cho, is like this thinking of this guy's a 20-10 guy, this guy's a 17. The numbers have changed, man. We got to evolve. So when you say 20-10 in the 90s, your argument has weight because that was a rare thing and it was being done a certain way. When you saying 20-10 in a league where 48 players are scoring 19 points per game, it doesn't mean as much. Also, we have a different metric to measure it. So you just said earlier that Paolo was better than Wemby. I'm going to tell you this. Top 12 players in box plus minus in the league, and Wemby was in it. And by the way, if you isolate out the first 30 games, he's way higher. So the second half of his season, when most rookies are hitting that wall, Wemby was basically a top 6 player on the worst team in the league. You take him out of that team, that's the worst team in basketball.
Hey,
50 losses in a row.
Penn, that was real smooth how you just transitioned into the back to the Wemby.
I'm still not over it. I'm still not over it. It's criminal.
But
that's the thing. When we look at but what is the deficiency with Bradley Beal is the defense. What else does he do? And you have a coach with a little bit more imagination like Coach Bud, you might be able to find a better use for his skill set as opposed to just trying to force him to be something that he's not. I think just generally speaking, Coach Bud has been a good floor raising coach. He may not necessarily always win the championship, but he won one. Maybe he'll win a second one. Devin Booker, really good player.
And this is what I talked about.
KD, really great player.
This is what I talked about when we talked about offenses. Now, like the fact that the two things could be true. They needed a point guard, but they also need to change their offense because you just brought up a real interesting point about numbers not meaning the same thing. Well, Bradley Beal in that offense, where a lot of that stuff was one pass, one shot, he still was 17-7. There is no ball movement. That's why that offense needs to change. And I think that he would be a lot more efficient if the offense changed and they had those guys playing more defense. Same thing that's going on in Orlando. That offense is going to change where they're going to have Paolo more involved as a ball handler. He's going to be more effective as a ball handler, more effective as a distributor, more effective in getting downhill and getting to the rim. That offense is going to change, and they're going to be better offensively as opposed to what's going on in San Antonio when you got almost a 40-year-old running the offense. And I'm not sure about the guys that are playing league guard are as competent. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm not sure that they are.
And I like the Suns. Like if one of you guys would have got the Suns, and if any of you guys would have put them in the contenders tier, I wouldn't have been mad at it. If any of you guys would have even put them in the elite tier, this is how high I am on the Suns. I wouldn't have even been mad at that. I just can't. Just based on their complications last year, based on Kevin Durant aging, based on their.
We just watched the Olympics. Ron, we just watched the Olympics.
3 weeks, Penn. Don't do that. No, Penn. That was a couple of weeks. We're talking about an entire 82-game season.
Best player.
Plus, right. No, he looked fantastic in that short period of time.
No, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't better than Steph, and he wasn't better than Bron.
He was definitely better than Steph. 100% he was.
Those 2 games with Steph outweigh everything.
No, they do not.
Won them 2
Hell
games.
No, they don't.
Steph
the swagger.
He literally threw the team. Without Steph, they don't win. Without KD, they might win. They probably win. You guys can't sit here and tell me Kevin Durant had a better Olympics than Steph Curry when Steph Curry won.
Bro, all I'm telling you is that I was rooting for Serbia, and when KD came onto the court, my heart dropped.
Didn't he make some
factor was
on
real.
the stretch?
No, KD didn't. Well, I mean, KD's KD. I'm not saying he played trash, but he didn't give him 38. He didn't go ballistic in the championship game and hit 7 straight threes. I'm not saying he was trash, but I'm saying
7 straight threes.
Why didn't he?
Did you watch KD in that tournament?
I'm not saying he was trash.
Player.
I'm not saying he was trash. I'm not saying he was trash. Literally, those last 2 games from Steph was astronomical.
Didn't he have like 12 points in the first half? Or didn't he have like a crazy first half when he first came back and when he was like healthy? He had like 20 points in the first half, or am I tripping?
So hold on,
you're focusing on the highlights. Focus on the lowlights. KD had none. Yes, you are focusing on the highlights, which is to say, oh, this guy hit 2 shots. Yeah, what Steph did was incredible. No one's taking away from what Steph did. No one's taking away from what LeBron did. They were great. I'm just saying, give KD his flowers. I think he was the best player on Team USA. I think it was. If you're not going to say it was,
LeBron was absolutely
LeBron
the best
had the
player
basketball. LeBron started all the games. The system was built around LeBron. But I'm trying to tell you that when it came down to when Team USA was in a little bit of trouble against Serbia, who put him over? It was always
no. Are we forgetting that they had to call the old man to beat South Sudan? Are we forgetting about that?
Mm-hmm.
Am I losing my mind? That they had to call the old man to get us over the top against South Sudan. Can you imagine us losing to South Sudan? What would have happened?
Respect South Sudan. Respect South Sudan. Tallest country in the world. Respect them.
Yeah, Chad,
they're coming.
Put up a poll. You guys let me know. Let us know who had a better Olympics, Steph or KD. But all right, we got to move on to the next team. Yep. The next team is the Portland Trail Blazers, and it's back to you, Penn.
Trash. But I hate that I'm saying this because they're so talented.
They are, right? They should be better than trash. They should
be, right? Like you look at that team, 1 to 10. Holy crap, do I believe in a lot of players on that team, right? I believe in Shaedon Sharpe. I could get with Anthony Simons. You're not selling me on DeAndre Ayton.
I don't think you can sell a lot of people on DeAndre Ayton.
I don't like DeAndre Ayton, but I like Rob Williams. I like Rob Williams.
I like Donovan Clingan.
Donovan Clingan's good, like really good. It's just like they got the largest collection of fourth options in league history. Does that make sense? Like everyone on the team is like a fourth or third option. I don't know who their star is. I don't know who it's supposed to be. Is it supposed to be Scoot Henderson? I was really high on Scoot Henderson. I'm gonna take my L on that. I'm still high on him, but he had a really tough season. Like we're talking Jalen Suggs tough. Maybe he could bounce back.
I think it's harder for guards though. Like I would give him a little bit more leeway because he is a starting guard and was he starting day one or did he come off the bench?
He came off the bench.
Yeah, because it's like guys like De'Aaron Fox, they had a tough start to their career. Russ had a tough start. I think it's just a little tougher on the guard. But another thing, I think Portland is really like waiting for somebody to be that clear player for them. That's why I think there's still guys where it's like, okay, Anthony Simons is still on the team. Okay, Jeremy Grant is still on the team. Okay, we bring in Denny Avdia. We still have a lot of these young guys because they're still not a clear cut young star that we're going to be walking into the future with. They wanted to be Scoot Henderson. You spend the third pick in the draft on him, but I don't think he has done anything as of yet to show that he is the young star that you can really start the rebuild or build your entire team around. So I think once they get that, I think they're going to actually start and you're going to see guys like Jeremy Grant get moved and Anthony Simons start to get moved, and they're really going to start building around the talent that Scoot Henderson is. So, or whoever decides to take that jump. So
they're like the deepest terrible team I think I've ever seen in my life. Like look at their roster.
The deepest terrible team.
they are Jeremy Grant, Donovan Clingan, Denny Avdia. These are all players. Delano Banton, like, I mean, you can go either way on him, but he's at least like a fringe backup. Tumani Kamara is really good. You watch this player play, he's amazing. DeAndre Ayton is terrible, dominating, the worst self-appointed nickname in the history of the world. Shaedon Sharpe, super potential, right? Good shot maker, great athlete. Anthony Simons, I still believe in Jabari Walker. I still believe in Scoot Henderson. I got fringe hopes in Chris Murray and Ryan Rupert, right? So there's like a lot of Rob Williams, right? Like I just named you like 10 guys. And if they were like the 9th player on a contender or an 8th player on a contender, Matisse Thybulle, not terrible. Could the Denver Nuggets use a Matisse Thybulle right now?
Hell yeah.
I think they could.
A lot of teams could use those guys.
A lot of teams could use the 10th guy on this team. And I'm saying, like, if Jeremy Grant's the 3rd best player on your team and you're trying to go for a championship, I'm not mad at that.
They got a lot of people they can go get some stuff for. You can get some back for Jeremy. You can get some for DeAndre, Rob Will, Matisse Thybulle. There's such a amount of Anthony Simons. I didn't even bring him up. There's so many pieces on this team where it's like once that young guy really pops and we figure out who it's going to be to lead us into the future, you might be able to stack up on some picks or some young talents, maybe some players that may have had a rough start, maybe a rough first season or two. You'll be able to bring some of those guys in. Like, there's plenty of players I can think of that just haven't gotten the opportunity or just haven't played well their first season or two that could be on the move for some of these guys that they have, like the Lakers, Nuggets. So many teams could use Matisse Thybulle. So many teams could use Rob Will, the Pelicans.
I'll tell you which one can. Milwaukee. He ain't playing for Doc Rivers again. I can tell you that.
They don't have a single. I don't think they have a single player who's a top 40 player in the league right now, right? But I think they got like 10 guys who are top 150 players.
That's why they're gonna get rated, Penn. For that reason, right there, what you just said, they're gonna get rated. They are going to be rated. They will be rated. But of course, if Scoot Henderson blossoms, you know, in his second year, I mean, let's not pretend like all guards start out equal, right? There are some guards who've had slow starts. De'Aaron Fox had a slow start, right? You didn't have the super start. Jalen Suggs, I think we feel very differently about him today than we did after his rookie season. He was like the worst player in the league after his rookie season. I was so out on him. Yes.
And now he's really reinvented himself. So, you know, there's the potential. I still think the talent, the tremendous amount of high-end lottery talent that's there, unfortunately, at some point, you have to pay all these guys. You are going to have to pay all these guys at some point. These guys are not going to be on rookie contracts forever, but while they are on rookie contracts, I think they've got a pretty competitive, fun squad. This is a good league pass team.
All right, fellas, with these last couple teams, we're not going to be able to talk in depth about them. So you guys, we're going to have to just get them and put them where they're supposed to be. If it's a shock, it's just a shock. We're not going to be able to sit back and talk about them. So the next team that I got is you, Chill, with the Sacramento Kings.
What is it again? Elite?
I'm gonna throw it up there for you. You got elite, you got contenders, you got mid, you got pretenders, and then you got trash.
They better
These
than
are where
Atlanta.
the teams are.
Yeah, they're better than Atlanta. That's where I got them. Put them ahead of Atlanta.
Mid.
All right, Kings are in the mid tier.
Mm-hmm.
John, it's on you, and you have the New York Knicks.
I got them as contenders. I got them as contenders. Yeah. I still don't believe in them against the Celtics. I think they can make a conference finals appearance, but for me to put them in elite would be for me to think that they have a real shot at going to the finals. And I just don't think they're in a situation where fully healthy, if they go up against the Boston Celtics, they will beat that team. So
what would be cool is if we could just rank out the teams so that we have all our ratings and then we could discuss what we disagree with. Would that be efficient?
Yeah, let's get through it.
We speed through it, and then we discuss it.
We probably should have did that from the beginning, but here we are now. So let's get into it, or let's keep it pushing. Next is on me, and I have the Pelicans, and I gotta put the Pelicans in this contender category. I know a lot of y'all might hate it.
Oh my god,
I have to because I like the addition of DeJounte, but we go keep going. We'll come back and talk about that. Next, it's on you, Penn, and you have the Hornets.
Trash. Why you give me all the trash teams?
Garbage. That's how the cookie's crumbling.
Rigged.
All right, John, you have another trash. I mean, you have another cool team. Chill. No, it's on you. It's on you, Chill. You have the Rockets.
Contenders.
I hope Mars isn't listening.
Wow. Yes. Contenders. I think they're top 5 seed. Yep. I think they're top 5 seed.
Oof.
Actually, no, I take that back, Ron. They're not good enough. They're not good enough to win the Western Conference Championship. No, but they definitely. I think they're better than Sacramento, so I'll put them at mid. Okay. I don't think they're better than Memphis. I don't think they're better than Sacramento
in mid.
Yeah, I'll put them ahead of Sacramento. Yes.
Ox punching air right now.
All right, John, Miami Heat.
Mid. I'm gonna go mid.
Mid for the Heat. All right, I have the Chicago Bulls, and I'm going to put them right there in that pretender category. I don't think they're quite trash, but I do think they got some pieces to be okay.
Matas. It's gonna be good.
I want to see him actually a part of the offense this year. I don't want him to see him just cutting to the basket and sitting in the corner. I want to see him get some dribble handoffs and let him get downhill to the rim. I just want to see him.
They have to. They have to.
Yeah, I want to see him in the offense.
Pin, you have the Brooklyn Nets.
Trash.
Damn.
Just keeping it up. You got Ben Simmons, you got trash. It's that simple. It's an immediate trash category. Trade Mikal Bridges, not happy about that. I like Cam Johnson. I like some of their young players, but let's be real. They're going for the Cooper flag sweepstakes.
Chill. The Oklahoma City Thunder.
Elite.
Yeah. Championship.
There we go. Second team in the elite. We have the only two teams in the elite right now are the Timberwolves and the Thunder. Next, John, you have the Warriors.
Mid. Yeah, I think they're going to be mid. Am I muted?
No, you hot.
Nah.
Oh, okay, cool.
You hot.
All right. I have the Boston Celtics, and I'm gonna go ahead and put these guys in that contender category.
Wow. Okay.
What?
I'm kidding. Relax.
This is a personal thing.
Calm down. Damn. Calm down. We all know that the Celtics are in this elite tier. We all know that they're the favorites to win the championship. We don't really even got to talk about the Celtics. Honestly, talking about the Celtics is like talking about how Pins just said the Brooklyn Nets. Like we know
it is what it is, right?
Yeah,
they're the anti-Nets.
This one is interesting though. Next, and Pin is on you, the Los Angeles Lakers.
Y'all just want every fan base to hate me because I'm putting them all trash. Obviously not what people want to hear, right?
Keep going.
I'm gonna put them in mid. I don't want to. I want to put them in the pretenders category because I think they will regress. But they just signed my man Christian Koloko to a 2-way contract, and I love Christian, so I'm just gonna. This is a totally vibes pick, and yeah.
All right, and last but certainly not least, Chill, you have the Orlando Magic.
I think they're going to be mid too.
Mid? All right, it's a lot of teams in mid, fellas. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this up here so we can take a look at the final list. Chat, y'all let us know how you feel about the list. Give us a grade, A through F, on how we did with this tier list. This is what we're looking at right now.
I think this is fair. This is pretty fair.
It is too.
Yeah, I think so as well.
I don't like the Pelicans and the contenders thing though. That to me, that's bothering me a little bit.
We'll get to the contenders. Let's start at the elite. So these are the only 3 teams that we think can legitimately win a championship this year.
Yep, I think so.
I think the Nuggets still have a shot, but other than that, yeah, this is what I would pick.
I personally think y'all bugging. I think it's 2 more teams that should be up here. One, I think you guys should agree with me on. The other one, it's my team, so I'm gonna be a little biased. But the Knicks should, to me, 100% be in this elite tier.
No,
with their additions and with the team that they got,
right,
and the depth that they got, the star that they got, the defense they got.
Yep.
I legitimately think that the Knicks should be in this category.
And with them being in this list, one of the reasons why they got to be in that list is because you think that they're going to be able to crack the long ball like the Boston Celtics. You're going to be able to defend like Minnesota. They're going to be able to score like Oklahoma City. Well, Julius Randle was a big part of them cracking the long ball like they do. Only except y'all want him gone. The majority of people want Julius Randle off the roster. So who's creating offense for them? Because it wasn't Jalen Brunson, not last year as much as it was Julius Randle early. It became Jalen Brunson later on, but Julius Randle was the one creating offense for them more. So I don't think that they have enough shooting.
What's your man Marlon
They did lose Isaiah Hartenstein, and I think what it's fair to say is that the Knicks should be at the top of the contenders instead of the bottom. I don't know if we're ranking.
They better than Philly.
Yeah,
yes,
now
they definitely better than Philly. No
I wasn't ranking the tiers. I'm just in that tier.
So no particular order. Yeah, but I think if there's any team that has an argument to go from contenders to elite, it would be the Knicks. Because I do think that the OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, like I think they solve a lot of their problems. And I don't see more than one team in the East that could beat them, but that one team beats them probably 10 times out of 10.
All right. So Pin, you wanted to talk about the Pelicans?
Yeah, I don't think they're contenders. Who's their center? Who's their starting center right now? Don't tell me Zion. I will literally walk off there.
Daniel Tice.
I'm out
Daniel
too.
Tice.
I'm out too. I'm right behind you, Tice. I'm right behind you, Pin.
Daniel Tice is their
The
starting
Brandon
center.
Ingram thing, I mean, are they trading him? Are they not trading him? They're gearing up for a lot of uncertainty. They got a lead initiator. They got a couple, now CJ McCollum and DeJounte Murray. Does that work? Is Zion going to be healthy? Is this motivated Zion or is this Mariah Mills Zion? I don't know which Zion, but whichever Zion we get, right? You do have some roster issues. I love Herb Jones. I love Trey Murphy. They got one of my favorite rosters, but they did lose Najee Marshall. Mm-hmm. They did lose Dyson Daniels. They lost a lot of the good stuff. They lost Valanciunas, right? Mm-hmm. And as much shit as I just talked about Valanciunas not being great, he is a center and he is a starting center in the NBA. You don't have one. So I don't know. I like Jordan Hawkins too. I like a lot of players on the team. I just don't like them. Like, are you telling me they're decidedly better than the Pacers and the Kings? How are they decidedly better than those teams?
They just got a lot of dynamic pieces. DeJounte, a dynamic piece.
Are any of them over 6'10"?
CJ, a dynamic piece. Zion, a dynamic piece. Brandon Ingram, a dynamic piece. Herb and Trey, both dynamic pieces. You mentioned Hawkins. He's jumping into his second year. We don't know what his potential is going to be on that team as a long ball shooter. I'm saying, but then also too, here's another thing. I don't think the Pelicans are done. I think we could see a package of CJ and Brandon going to get somebody major for them, going to get them a starting big man and a potential, fringe starter or somebody coming off the bench. I could see them going up to Portland and grabbing Rob Williams and somebody else. Rob and Jeremy. I could see him going and getting Rob and Jeremy. Something like that,
That's a downgrade.
Is Portland going to take CJ and Brandon Ingram in the state that they're in?
No.
I just threw that out there. I'm saying, like, I could see them making some moves. They got so many pieces. They got Herb.
Ron. It takes two to tango.
It's 30 teams in the NBA.
These are very highly paid players. You got to match salary on that. When you talking about trading for CJ and Brandon Ingram, you're talking about spending $75 million.
It could be two separate trades. It don't got to be them together. But I'm saying they got pieces to wheel and deal and make something happen.
Okay, you're a general manager. You lining up for CJ McCollum? That's $30 million. Are you lining up for Brandon Ingram and nearly,
especially on a bad team? Not today.
It just depends. It just depends on what what the deal is and what you're trying to do.
I think they're gonna have to go after one of these desperate teams. Like if the Clippers
are getting bad contracts anymore,
which is gonna happen.
So many.
That's gonna happen.
Yeah, if the Clippers or the Warriors start getting desperate, I would. If I'm the Pelicans, I'm sprinting to that. Like, look, if you got, because I think Trey Murphy and Herb Jones would make this team better if they were in the starting lineup. I think DeJounte Murray is not a good defender anymore. I don't think he can get back to that level because you can't just ask somebody who's not playing a high level of defense to who hasn't been playing a high level of defense for the past few years to just start playing it again. But I think next to Herb Jones, it can be hidden a little bit more because I think Herb Jones is the best perimeter defender in the league. And then Trey Murphy with his size and his 3-point shooting, I just think it would be better than guys like CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram who are going to have the ball a lot. And Zion is going to be having the ball majority of the time with DeJounte, and then you have Herb Jones and Trey Murphy to play off. But once again, when these guys get desperate, that's when you really need to start jumping on that. Like if the Warriors look pretty bad, and Steph Curry starting to get frustrated. Like, look, I got Brandon Ingram. If the Clippers start looking bad, I got CJ McCollum.
Ron, I'm asking right now, how many shots do you miss, Ron?
All the shots you don't take.
All of them. So if you're the Charlotte Hornets, with the talent that you have with LaMelo, with Mark Williams, with Bridges, with Brandon Miller, Bridges, Mark Williams, call up the Golden State Warriors and check their temperature on Steph Curry. Find out what exactly how y'all feel about him and what it would cost.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Call him up.
You don't have
if I could keep LaMelo, if I could keep LaMelo, I could keep Mark Williams. Call up the Golden State Warriors and check their temperature on Steph Curry.
They're not trading a franchise icon for anything less than LaMelo Ball plus Brandon Miller plus like every draft pick you own for the rest of your life. At which point, congratulations, you have Steph Curry and Mark Williams. And
like we're not doing that. That's what I'm saying. And find out what it's going to cost you. If we could keep some, because again, we're talking about the Golden State Warriors, who the window has closed. That championship window is closed in Golden State. It's over up there. So if we could keep some of what we have in terms of our core, call it the Golden State Warriors. They might hand him over. They
will not, because there will be 28 teams, 29 teams that will offer you a more competitive offer than Brandon Miller and maybe a few first-round picks. No, if Steph Curry gets moved, it will be for 120 cents on the dollar. His marketing ability, like the ability for him to single-handedly double your ticket prices.
He's from Charlotte. He's from there.
I think if Steph Curry were to get moved, it would be a team like, I mean, and that's even Lakers. If the Warriors want to move him to the Western Conference, but teams like the Thunder, the Spurs, the Rockets, they're going to have way better offers because the Rockets have disposable young players and disposable picks. The Thunder have thousands of disposable picks. The Spurs have potentially the best player in the league. So
if I'm Charlotte, I'm picking up the telephone and I'm just going to call it just to find out. I ain't saying that it's going to happen. No.
I think every team would.
I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling up Golden State. Yo, how y'all feel about Curry these days? What's going on?
We feel great.
Be able to make
Don't call us again, Showtown. With your rotary phone ringtone. Don't call us again. Don't call us again with that ringtone, Showtown.
Is there any other teams in the contender tier that y'all want to acknowledge that shouldn't be here? Either higher or lower?
Nah.
Okay. They belong there, but it could fall off real quick with the Denver Nuggets.
I think they could be up in
I don't. If I'm a betting man, I'm not picking them to make a conference finals. So it feels weird to call them mid, but I feel like KCP and Bruce Brown are really big losses. And if Jamal Murray does not recover, we're talking about a guy who just averaged 6 points per game for Team Canada, right? On I don't know, like what? Did he shoot like 2% from three? Like what did he do there? 6%, 12%, 16%? I might be underselling it a little bit, but I'm not underselling it a lot. He was bad. So if he is not healthy, or if he's not motivated, or if he's going to go through some personal crisis and needs a shaman, I don't know. But he needs to be way better, because the margin of error that these guys have enjoyed forever with Jokic, Jokic can just get us to 50 wins. He's a man. He's a human being. He needs some help. Peyton Watson, one of my favorite young players, but dude might be literally the worst offensive player in the league. He is like bottom 10. So this is a legit concern. There's not a lot of depth here, and Deron Holmes was like the only backup center on the team, and he's gone. It's tough. It's tough. One injury, and you're really thin. Like you're thin all over.
All right, we're going to move to the mid-tier. Is there any teams in this tier that you guys believe should be either contenders, one tier up, or pretenders, one tier below?
What's the best team in this tier?
The best team in this tier?
I think the Magic. No, the Pacers.
I think the Pacers too. I think the Suns, actually.
I think it's either the Suns or the Kings. I'm a little higher on the Kings than a lot of people would think.
I think the Rockets going to be better than the Suns I think the Rockets going to be better than the Suns and the Kings this year. I do.
So basically, there's this unofficial sixth category, which is fringe contenders, which is basically the Kings, the Suns, and the Pacers that are just better than these teams.
Well, I don't think it's fringe contenders. I think it should be a couple teams that should be a tier below. I think the Hawks should be pretenders. I think the Warriors should be pretenders. I think the Clippers should be pretenders. And the Heat and the Rockets low-key have a case to be pretenders too.
I think the Heat have a case. I really do think the Heat have a case.
To be pretenders?
But with Spoelstra and Bam and Jimmy, it's just like I think people are just holding on too tight to that finals run. And now every single year we get to the playoffs and this Heat team has been.
That's what they expect them to do. They expect them to do that, and it's not realistic. It's not.
I've heard real conversations like, "Oh, if Jimmy was healthy, they would have took care of the Celtics in 6 games." Like, no, that's not happening.
No, they would not have.
It's not happening this year. So I don't. That's what would make me make them pretenders for me. But I still think they're a good enough team to make it to the playoffs. But once they get to the playoffs, they think Jimmy Butler's going to turn into Mike, and now every role player on the team who could not shoot all season is going to be shooting consistently. So. That's what would make them pretenders for me. But other than that, I still think they're a good team, and I think they're going to be what is expected of them. Maybe a 6, 7, 8 seed, first round exit, maybe second round. Who knows?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the Kings You know, like what we went through this entire episode, never brought up DeMar DeRozan once. Never brought up Malik Monk. Those are two really good players. Unfortunately for the Kings, neither one of them play a lick of defense, right? You lose Harrison Barnes, who's a plus defender, in my opinion, and you get DeMar DeRozan, who's a lot of what you already have. I'm curious to see what DeMar will be like, but that team is going to score buckets. Keegan Murray took a massive step forward last year defensively. I think De'Aaron Fox took a huge step forward defensively. They've lost now Davion Mitchell, whatever he was. There's this kid, Keon Ellis.
Yeah,
I love that guy. That guy's amazing. Like the minute I saw him play, I'm like, that's curtains on Davion in Sacramento. So I think the Sacramento Kings are like fringe really good, but until they shore up that defensive problem, I don't really know what to say about them, because it's like you got all these players that are really good, and most of them are defensive liabilities, or at least defensively mid. And I think you just have a lot to compensate for with Domantas Sabonis. Domantas is a really good player. Like, he's a really legit top 20 player in the league. Buckets, passing, he's good. He doesn't protect the rim. Doesn't switch well. So you need something to compensate for that. You need like a Herb Jones there. That's what you need. You need like a Herb Jones to elevate that defense. And OG Anunoby. You need like real defensive floor raisers. And I don't think they.
You mean like what the Houston Rockets have?
Who they got?
Dylan Brooks, Jabari
Smith.
Amen Thompson, guys like that. And then on the offensive side of the basketball, you got guys like Sengun, you got guys like Jalen Green, who's going to take that next step. Guys like that.
I think it's about zones. Like, you got to protect zones on the court. You got to shore up the middle. You got to shore up the paint. You got to shore up the perimeter. You got to get point of attack. You got to get some help side. You got to get some versatility. These are all positions, right? You got to get some rebounding. You got to get some passing lane disruption. You need some guys who can poke the ball away a little bit, and then cohesively together you have a defensive unit. I don't think DeMar and Malik Monk really help with that. And you have three, in my opinion, non-defenders, and Malik, DeMar, and Sabonis, just not good defenders at all. They're not Damian Lillard, but they're like a step above that. And then you got De'Aaron Fox, who's pretty good. Keegan Murray, who was much, much better last year. It's just not enough to elevate what you're playing. So you're not going to bench those guys. You're not benching DeMar DeRozan and Malik Monk in the and then you got Kevin Huerter. It's another rotation guy. It's tough. They're a swap away. They need to swap some of their offense for some defense.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and dive into these super chats. You guys need to dive into that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, and become a member like our Hall of Famers, Kendall Daniels, Hunting Gilgores, Jerry Allity, Arch. Big shout out to Arch. He was the MVP of yesterday's show. Quite frankly, the MVP of the week. Multi Kenny, Cobra Son of Raditz, and GDHDG. Shout out to all of them. Alan L came through with the super chat. He said, "So Dame needs a BBL?"
No.
That was the Kyle Lowry talk.
J.A. said, "Why is Mars 2 shades darker with a blue hoodie?"
I knew when I put the hoodie on, I was like, is there going to be that one person who'll be like, oh man, hey, wearing a hoodie is jocking style. You know what I'm saying? We've been wearing hoodies for decades now, but I knew it was coming.
Actually, it's been the reason why some of us aren't around anymore.
You're right. So maybe I should take it off. The do-rag too, because you know what I'm saying? I might fit somebody's narrative.
Misconstrue what I am. I'm rocking a hoodie and a do-rag.
Good.
Breezy said Gafford only went for a pick swap. Washington are a mess. Yeah, we'll see. I expect Washington, a couple moves from Washington. But even last year, though, we thought Kuz was going to go. He didn't. We thought Brogdon was going to go.
He didn't want to play with the Mavericks.
Yeah, we thought it was a couple different guys that were going to go.
Can you believe that he said no
to the Mavericks?
Can you believe that he said no? That because he didn't want to play. He didn't want to play in Dallas. Now I understand that Luka might not be everybody's cup of tea, but that's better than what's going on in Washington. I can tell you that right now.
Literally.
I think he would have been perfect next to Luka.
Yes, that's definitely better.
I would have loved to see all three of them play together.
Because I'm sure that PJ Washington was looking at what was going on in Charlotte as opposed to what's going on in Dallas, like I'd much rather be there. Yeah, I'd much rather be there than be here because this kind of corny what we got going on over here.
I wonder where he wants to go. Like if we were just to ask him, like Malcolm, if you can go anywhere, where would you want to be?
Back in Boston.
And he needs to come back to Milwaukee. That's what he needs to do.
Orlando.
I like him in Orlando too.
Nice.
Man. Yes, I do like him in Orlando.
Nice. All right, y'all. We got a couple more super chats. We're gonna get into those. Before we do, I'm gonna give you guys a good option of where you should eat at for lunch.
What up, PC Nation? Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals this July with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Make your day delicious. From breakfast to dessert, stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. Keep kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well-balanced. Head to factormeals.com/playerschoice50 and use code playerschoice50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code playerschoice50 at factormeals.com/playerschoice50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
Alan L with the super chat. He said Dallas was a top 5 defense after the trade deadline, but they can't defend. Laughing my ass off. Stop chatting, Ron.
Were they?
I'm gonna tell you what my problem is with Dallas on defense. And you guys to point strictly to Damian Lillard and say just strictly off Dame, you guys say the Bucks have a bad defense.
Don't do it. Don't do this. You're gonna compare Dame to Luka.
No. It's not just Luka.
Kyrie.
It's not just Kyrie.
Who else is it?
They just added Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson was not good on defense last year. He's not a good defender.
He's bad. He's not terrible.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying. There is levels. So you have Dame, terrible, right?
And then you have 85 piles of crap, and then you have Klay. What are we talking about?
No, here's what I'm saying, Pin. The Bucks have one bad defender, and the rest of their defenders are average or above average. The Mavericks, when they roll out a lineup of Klay, which I'm assuming they're going to start Klay, you roll out a lineup of Klay, who is now a bad defender, Kyrie, who is not a great defender, not a good defender, not an average defender, and then Luka, who is a cone. Where's your wing defense?
Off the bench.
Okay, so what about the lineups that you rolled out with, that you start with? These guys, your starters.
And how were they a top 5 defense in the NBA? Make it make sense.
And Herb,
they had Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford,
and they do have Najee Marshall. Even though he's in the rotation.
Marshall's a good defender.
Yeah, he's
Klay Thompson's a competent team defender. He was never a lockdown guy, but he was always like above average. He was good. He was at his best. I think he's top 5 perimeter defender. So when people say Klay is not a good defender, they're talking about who he was before. They're not saying he's not on Trae Young level right now. Right?
No, he's not, but he's not what he once was. He's not, I'm gonna get on you and I'm gonna lock you down. Klay is
he's not the all-league defender.
Okay, but the fall off from a top 20 defender in the NBA, which is what he was at his absolute apex. If you watched him, you know how good he was defensively.
Yeah.
You're not saying like he fell off to bottom 20, which is exactly where Damian Lillard is. I don't like bringing up Damian Lillard and Klay Thompson in the same conversation defensively.
No, I'm saying you guys will call Milwaukee's defense trash because of one defender. I'm giving you 3 legitimate defenders that are going to start that can't guard. Klay Thompson cannot guard anymore because he had an Achilles injury and he tore his ACL. He just is limited. Will he give effort? Yes. Does he have the instincts? Yes. But on ball, I can't rely on Klay Thompson to guard Anthony Edwards. I can't rely on Luka to guard Anthony Edwards. I can't rely on Kyrie to guard Anthony Edwards. So when we play against those teams, what's going to happen? When we play against the Thunder, what's going to happen?
Ron, I can say this. Nobody, but I can say the same thing. I can't rely on Damian Lillard to slow down Jalen Brunson. I can't rely on Damian Lillard. I can't rely on Damian Lillard to slow down Maxey. I can't rely on Damian Lillard to slow down any of these guards in the East. So you talk about one guy,
one defender. I'm saying you have
he's
3 defenders that you can. Yes, I understand that, but so you have to actually have an action to get Dame switched on to these guys,
which is going to work every time.
No, it is with these other teams. We don't gotta have no action. You got a bad defender on you. You got a bad defender on you. You got a bad defender on you. Let's all just play hot potato. You take a turn. I'll take a turn. He'll take a turn, and we'll just pick on all 3 of these guys. Najee Marshall's not on the floor. Ain't nobody
having one atrocious defender
wrecks us.
That has to play for 37 minutes is worse than having 2 bad defenders.
Wrecks us,
because the 2 bad defenders can be hidden. You can hide a bad defender. You can hide a guy who just rebounds but doesn't switch well with scheme. You can hide a guy who can contest well but maybe doesn't laterally move as well. You cannot hide a guy who dies on every screen and is super small in the post. Like you get like when you talk about Klay Thompson, oh fine, he fell off a little bit. He's not as good as he used to be. You could chop his hand off. He used to be a better defender than Damian Lillard, man. Is not comparable.
And who's also your point of attack defender too.
If Damian Lillard was on the Mavericks, he would be their worst defender.
Yeah, that's okay. But that Damian, see, you guys are trying to compare Damian to 3 not good defenders, and I can't believe we're doing this. Like
the reason why, Ron, the reason why is because that's the effect that he has on his unit, playing 37 minutes, being the point of the attack. Those 3 guys that you talk about, those 3 guys, they could make up. We can make up for some of that with Damian Lillard, one guy. And considering
Luka is in the layup lines, he's food on defense,
and so is Lillard.
Still a good rebounder.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Lillard's not. I'm not disagreeing with you guys with Lillard. What I'm trying to say is you got Lillard, and then you got guys surrounding him that actually are competent defenders. You don't have guys surrounding Klay, Kyrie, and Luka. Daniel Gafford can't make up for all 3 of them. PJ Washington, who's not really the highest thought of defender, he's not protecting these guys either.
And Giannis can't make up for, and Giannis tried to make up for Damian Lillard.
Brook Lopez lost a step too.
Yes.
Brook Lopez did lose a step, but how you just said with Klay, Brook Lopez lost a step, but it's still Brook Lopez.
But you're out here calling Klay a bad defender. Are we going to hone in on the fact that Brook Lopez is not as switchable anymore?
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, they switch.
Is Chris Middleton the defender that you are remembering him?
He's better than Klay.
Sure.
No way. No. Ho.
All right, let's end the show. Let's end the show. Let's just end the show.
Wait a second.
Let's end the show. If you're going to sit here and argue with me that Klay is a better defender than Chris Middleton right now, you're sitting here saying that Chris Middleton is good enough to compensate for Damian Lillard. That's
which
really
the debate.
I'm not saying that. So who has a better defensive supporting cast? Luka or Dame?
Dame has a better supporting cast defensively, arguably, but Luka is the better defender. What they're supporting, he is considerably better.
I think when you integrate some lineups, though, Luka has a lot of defensive help. Like when you put in Quentin Grimes and Najee Marshall, and then you have Derek Lively defending the rim, you're going to have some defensive help around those guys. We're just talking about the starting lineup. And the starting lineup, it's not going to be pretty.
Is Karl-Anthony Towns a bad defender?
No.
I don't think so.
He was for a while.
If I put him in space, and I take Rudy Gobert away, and I take some of that pressure away, I can make him look real bad, right?
Terrible.
But he still has a role. He's a good rebounder. He's a good rebounder. He's a good post. He's a good post defender. He's got some girth to him. He's got some weight to him. And pause. Okay, he's got some weight to him, and he can guard in the post. Okay, so that's my point. He could do something. He's not useless. There's certain guys that are just useless. They can't do anything. You can't put them in the perimeter. You can't hide them in the corner. You can't put them in the block. You can put them anywhere.
This is what I'm trying to say. You guys are trying to the same thing you guys are saying with Dame. Luka can be a little better than Dame. that's not saying much.
Ron, when you have guys,
doesn't provide no defensive value at all.
When you had guys
the
like
same effort thing with Dame, you get that with Luka. The same not moving your feet, you get that with Luka. The same giving up on plays, you give that with Luka. The same pouting on defense and just sitting there looking at things, not getting back on defense, you get that from Luka. I don't understand how we're
but one of those guys is 230, 6'6".
Which is even worse. So what happens when you get switched on? What happens when you get switched onto these quick guards?
He can resist. He's a bigger. There's no way that you have seen Luka and Dame play and you thought that Dame was even close. It's not close.
Look. Here's the thing.
And Luka is terrible defensively. He's a terrible defender.
They both go into the trash tier. They both go into the trash tier, and you can say levels to the trash tier is still a trash tier.
Steph Curry's not a great defender, but he competes.
I got nothing else, Ron.
Steph wouldn't be in the trash tier though. Steph would probably be in the tier right above that.
Sub trash. Okay.
But all right, y'all. Styles Black with the last super chat of the day. He said, "Send yourself to hell, Ron. Mid tier, slap yourself."
I guess he's talking about the Suns.
He's talking about the Suns. I know you're a Suns guy, but hey, I don't see it. I don't. But all right, fellas, we'll be back tomorrow. The title of the show tomorrow will be the biggest question marks for these contending teams. So every team that was in the contender tier and every team that was in the elite tier, we'll talk about what's actually their biggest question marks. I actually got one more super chat from Hemi. He said, frequent reminder. Chill hates on Giannis, but guzzles Mobley, who is a far dumber basketball player, less athlete, far less skilled, maybe.
Just the same Giannis who I think is arguably the best player on the planet. Is this the same Giannis who I think the reason why Milwaukee has a chance because they have him? This the same Giannis that we're talking about. Meanwhile, Evan Mobley is in year 4 that we're going into, and he's 22 years old. Shut up, Jaime. Thanks for the super chat, though. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. So,
all right, y'all. We'll be back soon. Y'all take it easy.
P. Diddy.